That's with a Hardee's breakfast. We're out to win you over.
Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, tonight at 7.
NBC Sports puts all the pieces together, blending a tradition rich in memories with innovation and the latest in television technology. Great moments come alive on NBC Sports.
Baseball is just ahead, as most of you will see Pedro Guerrero and the Los Angeles Dodgers on the road at Riverfront in Cincinnati to face the acrobatic, power-hitting Eric Davis and his Cincinnati Reds. Or some of you will see Kirk Gibson and the Detroit Tigers going against the Boston Red Sox at Fenway in Boston. The Red Sox still struggling to regain last year's pennant-winning form. But first, NBC Sports presents Major League Baseball, an inside look, brought to you by Honor All. It's the finishing touch every time you wash your car. And by Taco Bell. Say hello to fresh, exciting taste. Just say hello, Taco Bell. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marv Albert in New York, and we welcome you to the start of a baseball day here on NBC. There are 2 games underway in the American League in Toronto. In the 4th inning, the Orioles lead the Blue Jays by the score of 2-1, and out at Shea, they're in the 4th. The Mets over the Pirates by the count of 2-1 in the 4th inning. Mets with 2 runs in the 1st. One on this bases-loaded wild pitch by Doug Drabeck, the other run scoring on a ground out. So 2-1 Mets in the 4th inning. And 42-year-old Tom Seaver is back with the Mets at a news conference this morning. The announcement that Seaver has joined the team for a 3rd time in an attempt to aid an injury-torn pitching staff. He has agreed to contract terms but won't sign until he is ready to pitch. So number 41 is back.
The next step for me is to go through a period of so-called spring training and then get to the point where I feel like I'm ready to compete against Major League hitting and compete on the Major League level, and then get some people out.
Seaver is hoping to be ready to pitch by June the 20th. This is an unusually busy news-making stretch for the Mets, who last night welcomed back Dwight Gooden. Now, Gooden made his return from treatment for cocaine use. He received several standing ovations and pitched well. Not quite 1985 form, but he was solid over 6 2/3 innings, allowing 1 run and 4 hits, and helped by plays like this. Although anxious moments for Mookie Wilson and Len Dykstra, somehow Wilson able to hold on, and both came out of this okay. So Gooden, admittedly nervous, said he felt the butterflies, but came through his first test with a victory.
I didn't expect any moves, and no, the hitter chills was, like I said, a great feeling to know the people behind you, and hopefully I can continue, staying consistently and the rest of the year. But to hit that, type of thing, the hardest part is just trying not to do too much and just being yourself out here.
Well, I tell you, it was an emotional game for me, and it's probably the most worn out I've ever been because, a member of the family comes back, and I was close to breaking down when he first threw the first pitch, but he was outstanding. I think it's been a year since I've seen him use the combination with fastball and curve the way it's supposed to be used.
But the Mets trail the first-place Cardinals by 6. St. Louis, led by John Morris, who came through with this base hit, beat the Cubs 5-1 at Wrigley yesterday. Later, Morris did it again. Another RBI single, 3 hits for Morris. Solid effort by Greg Matthews, who is back from the minors. In the West, the Reds are now 2 games in front. Eric Davis unloading this 3-run home run to snap out of an 0-for-17, his 20th homer of the year. He leads the majors. Cincinnati coming from behind to beat the Dodgers 8-6. In the American League, Dave Winfield provided the spark with this, his 12th of the season. He had 3 hits, 3 RBIs as the first-place Yankees walloped Milwaukee 13-1. This on a day that saw Ricky Henderson placed on the disabled list and Don Mattingly hospitalized with an injured back. The hottest bat last night, Pete O'Brien of Texas with 2 home runs, including this, his first career grand slam. He knocked in 7 runs in all. Rangers beat the Twins by the score of 15-9. And we'll be back with one of the keys to the strong start of the Western leading Cincinnati Reds. Back to talk with Dave Parker in just a moment.
To make the perfect spark plug, Last year at Champion, we rejected over 500,000 imperfect ones. Everybody makes mistakes. Ours never leave the factory.
Your doctor has a new treatment that may help prevent a heart attack. It's a regimen that includes exercise, the right foods, and aspirin. Studies with people who have had a heart attack or unstable angina show aspirin helped reduce their risk of a second heart attack and saved lives. Ask your doctor how aspirin can help you. This message brought to you by Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Only you. Just because you've washed your car doesn't mean you're finished. After each wash, you need some Armor All on the dash, the bumper, and especially the tires. Armor All, it's the finishing touch every time you wash your car. You're my dream. And now, introducing Clean Start, the new cleaner which safely removes tough dirt. Clean Start, only from Armor All products.
Welcome back to our New York studios, and let's take a check at what happened in baseball this past week. Last Monday in Cleveland, with Phil Niekro on the mound, the Indians beat the Tigers 9-6, making the Niekros, Phil and Joe, the winningest brother combination in baseball history, a feat that brought their mom out to Cleveland. The Niekros with 530 victories, passing by the brother combination of Jim and Gaylord Perry. The comeback story of the year, Brett Saberhagen of Kansas City, continues his dramatic turn. Thursday night's win over Seattle pushed Saberhagen's record to 10 up and 1 down. Then there was Mets pitcher Roger McDowell showing us his twisted sense of humor. Roger in need of some time off. The most explosive day of the season last Wednesday in Chicago. Keith Moreland with a grand slam home run, 7 RBIs, one of 3 grand slams in the game, and a 22-7 Cubs win over the Astros. Billy Hatcher of Houston did it in the 4th inning. And it was Brian Dayette with yet another grand slam. The Cubs with 21 hits, including 6 home runs. Defensively, the best plays of the week pulled off once again by Eric Davis of Cincinnati. On Tuesday, he robbed Jack Clark. The next day, it's Davis doing it again, stealing one from the bat of Clark, taking away a 2-run home run. And Eric Davis and his Reds are on top in the West by 2 games over the Giants, and a man that Davis calls Pops. 15-year veteran Dave Parker has played a significant role in this year's success of the Reds. Dave hitting at a 400 clip the past couple of weeks, and he has joined us from Cincinnati. Now, Dave, you're the guy that gave Willie Stargell the nickname Pops during your days with the Pirates, and now Eric Davis has passed it right on to you.
Oh, that's true. Willie once told me when I nicknamed him Pop that he said that eventually a kid is going to walk up to you and say you were my idol in junior high school and start calling you by Pops. And it happened with Eric Davis.
I know 2 years ago you looked to settle down Eric Davis, who at times would be high-strung, yet you try to light a fire under Nick Osaski, who required a little push. Are you now a father figure?
Well, I guess they kind of look at me as being the guy that's been around 15 years, and I guess that kind of, my seniority kind of carries a father figure. But I'm the type of guy that just goes out and try to stabilize this young talent and show them what it takes to win. And I think with the other veterans, Buddy Bell, David Concepcion, Perez, and Rose's help, I think we've done pretty good with that.
All right, last weekend, you heard the boos and the taunts pretty good from the fans in Pittsburgh, where you played for 11 seasons. Then on Sunday, you hit one out to snap that 2-2 tie, and I know you enjoyed running out that home run. In fact, we have a tape of it. Let's take a look at it, and we've also put the clock on your home run trot, which you will not see, but here it is. I should point out that the American League record for a home run trot is held by Reggie Jackson. I think it's 3 hours and 10 minutes.
3 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah, this one could be right there. Were you trying to show up the Pirates and their fans?
Well, not necessarily show up, but it was a response back to the fans. They got in their shots for the first 2 days there, and it was just my response to their boos were just taking my time and going around the bases. The intent is never to show up a pitcher, but I think that trot was basically in response to what I received from the fans the first 2 days I was there.
Well, it was, let's see, 30-plus seconds. What about that wide turn at first? I'm told that last year you hit one against the Pirates, and your turn was so wide, you nearly ended up in the dugout. And you have a name for that. Is there a nickname that you've come up with?
Well, I call it the Thing. That's what my trot nickname is the Thing. But I think most people have a home run trot, and mine is just one where when I do hit the ball, I kind of more or less go towards the dugout. I try not to make it too deep, but a lot of times I'll be watching the ball and I get a little farther than I intend. But, like I say, the intent is not to show up anyone. It's just my home run trot.
Dave is one who made it back from a drug problem. What do you feel Dwight Gooden was going through last night in his return? What will it take mentally for Dwight to make it back?
Well, I just think Dwight had to come out last night and just feel like, okay, I'm back in the major leagues, and I'm pitching today. My responsibility is to the Mets to try to win the ball game, and I think that's what he was concentrating on. And just try to let the boos go over his head, really concentrate on doing his job. And evidently he did well at that, because I think he went 6 2/3. So I feel like Dwight is back, and I'm very happy to see it for baseball and Dwight.
All right, Dave, continued success. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, the man they call the Cobra, Dave Parker of the Cincinnati Reds, will be back with the wild and the wacky in the world of baseball when we come back.
Hello, small change, kind of short. Taco Bell is just your sort.
Did you know that for 99 cents or less, you can get nachos, burritos, tacos, lots of great tasting food, all for under $1, and all at Taco Bell. So if you've got some small change just lying around.
Hello, Taco Bell.
A leading consumer magazine has just cleared the air. Of all oil filters tested, the new Fram Wear Guard was rated best. Fram, you can pay a little now or a lot later.
Take good care of your car, but forget your brakes. Might as well do this. Bendix brakes pass tougher tests than any law requires, so think about Bendix. The sooner, the better.
Vinny Pazienza, a fireball in perpetual motion. His style resembles nothing short of controlled mayhem. Greg Haugen, the champ, a throwback to the Jack Dempsey days, is the quintessential tough guy. Pazienza battles Haugen, the IBF Lightweight Championship on NBC Sports World.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know why you're interrupting the show just to put me on to talk about baseball. I don't like baseball. I never liked baseball. I think you have to be nuts to watch a game where people could only afford one ball. 9 people are fighting over it, and they're all running around just to get back where they started from, all because of one ball. Get 9 balls and keep your mouth shut.
That is the red-hot Jackie Mason, who always has a way of capturing the moment, which leads us to a look back at the wild and wacky in the world of baseball for the month of May, as compiled, as always, by our crack staff, what we call the Albert Achievement Awards. We open with pitching problems. The comebacker to Bobby Thigpen of the White Sox loses the ball and his footing. Dan Petrie of Detroit with a slip pitch. Hatless Ed Lynch of the Cubs has some difficulties, and a very elusive hat providing a workout for outfielder Dave Martinez. One of the peculiar moments of the season, Roger McDowell of the Mets, upset about this play in disgust, tried to pound the ball into his glove and nearly threw it away with runners on base. Let's check out the defensive end. The ground ball to the Giant shortstop, Jose Uribe, who is able to stumble his way to the double play. Wade Boggs with the pop foul. Here comes Darryl Boston of the White Sox into the stands. A sensational catch. And how about Mitch Webster of the Expos going over the railing and holds on. We had our share of embarrassing moments. A pop-up that led to an adventure for Greg Brock of Milwaukee. Then there was Matt Young of the Dodgers with a throw that is high and wide. And some San Diego confusion. Joey Cora on the back pedal meeting up with teammate Shane Mack, but Cora hung on. The best attempts the past month. Eddie Murray of the Orioles with the pop-up. Doug DeCense of the Angels to the photographer's box and gets caught. Dale Murphy of the Braves with a couple of shots at this one to no avail. And there was Mike Greenwell and Ed Romero of the Red Sox. We conclude with the unusual San Diego pitcher Eric Shaw with the graceful departure. Tony Gwynn with some problems with the weighted donut on his bat. Finally, watch the base runner Ozzie Guillen of the White Sox, who apparently did not appreciate the attempted pickoff, so he lets first baseman Bill Buckner know how he feels about it. Yes, the wild and the wacky over the past month in baseball. And we are closing in on game time. Thanks for joining us. I'm Marv Albert in New York. Let's go to the ballpark.
Sunday. Next to the Untouchables, only one team has come along with the guts to go face-to-face with the mob. Mike Torello and the MCU take on Chicago's biggest crime boss in a powerful 2-hour movie as you've never seen it before.
You're gonna go straight to the electric chair.
Crime Story, the movie, Sunday.
Millions of miles and millions of cars, more of them every year. They're riding on Kendall Motor Oil. That's what I hear.
Every year, people like racing champion Big Daddy Don Garlitz rely on the protection and quality of Kendall Motor Oil.
Don Garlitz and Kendall Motor Oil, year after year.
Kendall, protection worth its weight in gold for more than 100 years.
Available at all G Auto Parts stores.
Instead of the usual good deal at Midas, here's a deal that's unusually good.
Through June 30th, see your participating Midas dealer for 25% off the full line of Midas quality mufflers.
Big enough to buy a house. 2 houses, a swimming pool, diamonds in the rough.
Saturday's Super Lotto jackpot is still growing.
My own chocolate factory.
Will the owner of a red, sun-faded, corroded convertible please move your car to another state?
Make the move with Santa Barbara, Friday on Channel 5.
His name was Johnny Bench, and he came out of Oklahoma to be an integral part of the Big Red Machine in Cincinnati. 6 times the Reds appeared in the League Championship Series, 4 times in the World Series. But Bench was not alone. There was also the most valuable player at second base, a multi-talented Joe Morgan. The Reds, now managed by Pete Rose, who was also a mainstay, won 2 World Series in 1975 and in 1976. And the spirit of the Big Red Machine is alive and well today in the person of 25-year-old Eric Davis. Born in Los Angeles, but coming alive in the city at Riverfront. Eric Davis, wearing number 44, steals bases as he did last night. He stole second and third. Hits home runs. He has hit 20, even to the opposite field to win games, as he did last night. Eric Davis leading the 1987 vintage Big Red Machine. And the Reds meet the Dodgers at Riverfront.
The National Broadcasting Company, now in its 7th decade of bringing you baseball's memories. Baseball's milestones. Baseball's majesty. And baseball's magical moments. NBC Sports proudly presents the Major League Baseball Game of the Week. Today, Today from Riverfront Stadium, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Cincinnati Reds. The game of the week is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft. Cold filter draft beer. It's as real as it gets. By Northwest Airlines. Look who gives you more of the world from more of the USA. By AC Delco, the smart parts.
Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. Welcome to Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. The Big Blue from Los Angeles with a colorful Tommy Lasorda have arrived. They are not the story. Perhaps the most charismatic pitcher in the 80s is here today, Fernando Valenzuela. He is not the story. Pedro Guerrero, who is in the top 10 in all of the offensive categories in the National League, he is not the story. But it does have a Los Angeles story. A 25-year-old born in that city of the Angels by the name of Eric Davis. He is the story. He has already been compared to Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente, Henry Aaron. He might become the first ball player in history to be a 40-40 man. 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases. He already has 20 home runs. He has 23 stolen bases. He has knocked the city of Cincinnati and the baseball world on its ear. What's it like to be Eric Davis? Let's find out and go to Joe.
Okay, Vin, I'm standing with the man. Eric, with all the hype, the comparisons to Willie Mays and everybody else and all the hoopla, how can you just play the game?
Well, it's not that much problems for me because I just try to go out and do what I have to do and not live up to anyone's expectations with my own, which is to go out and give 110%.
But even last night, they put your picture on the big screen and you got a standing ovation. You were seated in a dugout. How do you put it in focus? Do you get some help from somebody?
Well, I get a lot of help from the veteran guys such as Dave Parker and Pete Rose. We have Tony Perez and Dave Concepcion, and all those guys have been around. They've had their share of successes in the game, and they just tell me to just maintain my composure and not worry about it and just go out there and play hard every day.
We'll be watching you today.
We'll be after him.
There it is, Vin.
So it's Eric Davis, a long, slender drink of water who looks like a basketball player, could even be a defensive halfback, but instead wears 44, the number worn by the great Henry Aaron, with distinction and pride and some glistening credentials. We'll get to the starting lineups and find out more about the Eric Davis story right after this.
It's real. I know it's real.
There was a time when there was only one kind of beer. Rich, smooth draft beer. It wasn't pasteurized or tampered with. It was just real beer. Miller Genuine Draft is as real as that. It's not heat pasteurized like most other beers. It's cold filtered, so it's as rich and smooth as only real draft beer can be. Miller Genuine Draft.
It's as real as it gets. Buy yourself a little freedom. Get yourself a great little car. See how it feels to have your own set of wheels. Buy a little freedom, buy a Yugo. Go anywhere you want to, anytime you want. Just get up and go. See how it feels to have your own set of wheels. Buy a little freedom, buy a Yugo.
Yugo, America's most affordable new cars.
Wait till you see the changes we're making at Howard Johnson.
This is Howard Johnson? This is Howard Johnson?
Det verkligen Howard Johnson?
This is Howard Johnson?
If you haven't stayed with us recently, you may be in for a surprise.
This is Howard Johnson.
We're changing our rooms, our furnishings, and there's a new attention to service.
This is Howard Johnson?
This is Howard Johnson.
This is Howard Johnson.
Hi, everybody. Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. Welcome to Riverfront Stadium as Steve Sachs, John Shelby, and Pedro Guerrero will be the first three hitters to face Ted Power. And the pitch away, ball one. Steve Sachs hitting .258. He has 3 home runs, 13 runs batted in. Ted Power, a former Dodger who had made 229 consecutive relief appearances, turned into a starter, and he is 4-2. No record against the Dodgers last year. 5-1 lifetime against his old club. The Reds playing exciting ball. They have won 3 straight, 6 out of 7 and 8 out of 10. They're in first place, leading by 2.
The Dodgers trail by 6 in there. And of course, for Cincinnati last night, a tremendous lift, trailing 6-0. They came back to beat the Dodgers 8-6.
I asked Lasorda if he used an electric razor this morning. He said he wouldn't shave and locked his windows.
Ball 3. 3-1 to count to Steve Sachs. If you are planning to keep score with us, and a lot of folks like to do that, we won't rush you. We'll give you the starting lineup, but it's just as easy to write it in as they come up and hit. 3-1 to Steve Sachs. That's a strike. Charlie Williams, the plate umpire. John Kibler, Bruce Fremming, and Jim Quick on the line at third. There's Charlie. 3-2 the count to Steve Sachs. He's the only Dodger to have played in all 54 games. He hits a fly ball to right center. Eric Davis and Dave Parker, and it's Parker. We have a moment now, so let's take a look at the Dodger lineup. Sachs, Shelby at center, and Guerrero in left. Marshall in the cleanup spot in right. Stubbs, Trevino behind the plate. Mike Scioscia with a broken finger. Jeff Hamilton at third. Dave Anderson, the shortstop. Mariano Duncan is just riding the pines. And Fernando on the mound. John Shelby, a switch hitter. He's been pretty hot. 5-game hitting streak. Recently acquired from Baltimore in the Tom Niedenfuer deal. Shelby has higher numbers as a right-handed batter, but more at bats from this side. He's a .290 hitter at this side of the plate. 2-0. He was very difficult to walk in the American League. He walked about once every 27 at bats. So far with the Dodgers, he's walked 4 times in 13 games. Just the start of things. 1 out, first inning, no score. Ball 3. When the Dodgers lost last night, they put their brand on another road series. Last night was the first game of the 10th road series they played this year. They have lost the first game in every series. Pretty hard to build up any momentum. With Shelby aboard, let's take a look at the Reds with the leather.
In the outfield, Jones, Davis, and Parker, and with Davis in center field, it has to be a good outfield. Bell, Larkin, Concepcion, Saski in the infield, and Larkin made a tremendous play at shortstop. He's a fine player, and Bo Diaz behind the plate, and Power is the pitcher.
For years, the Dodger trademark was the stolen base. It is hard to believe that the 1987 Dodger team is last in the league in stolen bases. The Reds have more than twice as many stolen bases. And John Shelby has stolen 2 out of 3. Right.
Talking to Pete Rose before the game about that, Ben, he lets any player that wants to run can run. Pete says if you start to just hold them to a sign, he said they lose their aggressiveness. Even Dave Parker last night, when they played behind him, I said, run if you want.
One tip-off, and it is usually part and parcel of the story. If a team is having a lot of trouble on AstroTurf, you can figure it is A, either a very slow team, or B, it's just a team not running. Well, the Dodger record is worst in the major leagues on AstroTurf. 2 wins, 12 losses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2.
Shelby's able to get a pretty good lead at first base, but there are a couple of things that will militate against him running, although, you know, you can't take anything for granted. But Guerrero, 1 swing could give you 2 runs, and Power is holding that ball just a little bit longer. And let me tell you, the ground crew here at Cincinnati told me the field was about 120 degrees.
And Shelby, a newcomer to the league, so he really doesn't know the moves of the National League pitchers yet. That's trial and error. Off the rubber.
That's a good move that Power makes right there, because that'll take the spring out of your legs if Shelby is indeed thinking about running, and he may well be.
Guerrero, of course, at the plate, 14 home runs, 43 RBIs. And we'll see about Power freezing Shelby. Ground ball to shortstop. Larkin over to Concepcion. Low to Saski in time for the double play. So Guerrero grounds into the double play, and the Dodgers come up empty. And at the end of half an inning, the Dodgers nothing, and the Reds coming up.
Mobil 1 synthetic motor oil. No matter what you drive, or how you drive, or where you drive, or what conditions you drive under. With Mobil synthetic oil technology, there's no finer engine protection anywhere. Mobil 1, on the leading edge of Mobil motor oils.
Look to northwest. We'll fly you to London or New York or Tokyo. More places than ever to go. Look to northwest. Come fly with us. You'll always be our guest. Fly with us. Look to us. Northwest.
Now's the time to buy a home because Century 21 offices are opening doors for you. It's our Century 21 open house weekend.
This weekend, we're opening doors all over the area. Homes you can afford.
And Century 21 offices are selling more homes than anyone else.
Now's the time to buy a home. So come on in.
Number one to work for you. Century 21.
Call your local Century 21 broker for details of our open house weekend.
To make the perfect spark plug, last year at Champion, we rejected over 500,000 imperfect ones. Everybody makes mistakes. Ours never leave the factory.
The Reds coming up with Tracy Jones, Barry Larkin, and then Eric Davis, followed by Big Dave Parker, Buddy Bell, and Nick Ossowski. The bottom three, Bo Diaz, Davey Concepcion, and Ted Power. Fernando Valenzuela is 5-3. No record, 5-6 lifetime with the Reds. He does not have a victory on AstroTurf. He is 0-3. The 21-game winner last year, who turned in 20 complete games. A little nubber up along first base, foul ball. There is some concern about Fernando, and you can see why in his last 6 starts, an earned run average of almost 5. There are those who say, like Keith Hernandez, he doesn't throw as hard as he used to. There are others who say he just doesn't have the great control he had. But there is some question mark about him as compared to the 21-game winner last year. Tracy Jones is a youngster from the Los Angeles area, went to college at Loyola Marymount, and having a big first year in the big leagues. His dad played in the Boston Red Sox organization. Ground ball back a third. Hamilton set for the long throw. Got him. One away.
That's as good an arm at third base as you want to see. He really comes up with that ball and fires.
Tommy Lasorda said last year while he played, he thought he was the best defensive third baseman in the National League.
The rest of that infield is Anderson at short, Sachs and Stubbs. The outfield, Guerrero, Shelby, and Marshall. Trevino behind the plate, and Fernando on the mound.
Here's Barry Larkin, who is a Cincinnati boy. Went to Moeller High School. Takes ball 1. And, of course, it points up the fine crop of young talent they have here. Barry was a member of that great U.S. Olympic team of 1984. 1-1 with Larkin and Kurt Stillwell alternating in the infield sometimes, with Tracy Jones and Cal Daniels in the outfield. Then you add an Eric Davis in there. Of course, for the Reds, it's always been kind of feast or famine. In the last 15 years, the Reds have either been 10 games over 500 or 10 games under 500. But now, with the 24 players on the Cincinnati team, 30% of them, actually 33, 8 of the players are first-round draft picks. So the youth movement is here, and Pete Rose has them moving. Last year at this date was the beginning of the turnaround.
You know, we hear so much about Eric Davis, Vin, but he's another one of those 5-year overnight sensations. I mean, he just didn't pop on the scene. He's been playing, and a lot of scouts say, oh, they knew all along, but the honest ones will tell you he's been a big surprise.
Well, I had said last night to Pete Rose, I said, what took you so long to discourage Eric Davis? And he said, well, it didn't take me long, but he said he was striking out 1 out of every 3 at-bats, and we thought that wasn't right. He better go back to the minor leagues and learn how to make contact. High fly ball, hooking down the left field line, hooking, and going foul. So that had enough distance.
He did not sting that ball either. It sounded like it came about off the trademark. In batting practice today, I was surprised by the way the balls were jumping out. And, you know, the old juiced up ball controversy came up again, as it always does every week.
Larkin has 4 home runs. Last night, Steve Sachs hit a home run, and his arms were bent at the elbow. I've never seen a fella
I
have a
asked
bad
about
hit.
that. I was watching it, and you know what? They had that play on where he squares around the bunt, and if they charge, he's supposed to hit it, and when they charge, he hit it and hit a home run.
Home run.
That's why his arms were like that.
I know. There's a fly ball to right field. Marshall is there. By the way, and certainly our fine cameramen don't need any excuse, but we should bring up something very early, almost a preamble, as Eric Davis comes up. The AstroTurf here at Riverfront is worn and faded, and on a bright, shiny day like today, it is extremely difficult to pick up the baseball. It's okay playing, but it is really hard looking down on the AstroTurf and finding the ball. Well, here he is, and look at those numbers. He was 0 for 17 when he hit a 3-run home run to win the game last night. 1 ball and no strike. Fouled away.
One of the tip-offs on the ball players, watch him during practice, be it infield or batting practice. Eric Davis, during batting practice, his first time up, tries to hit every ball to the right side. He just wants to get the feel of the ball on the bat. Second time up, he's hitting it to the middle and the right side, and the third time he takes swings, he just is loose.
Ground ball to the hole, base hit into left field. So a 2-out single by Eric Davis. You know, there's a lot of talk about him being the Triple Crown winner. The last National Leaguer to win the Triple Crown, as we look at that stroke again, was Joe Medwick in 1937. And Medwick was the same age as Eric, 25.
One of the things in the swing that he's still working on, and with that shot you saw it, how he drops his hands. They want him to take the hands straight back, but he kind of pumps them. But when you're hitting baseball, that's called a trigger mechanism. Going to slump, and it is an old-fashioned hitch.
Well, this is baseball's answer to the horns of a dilemma. One horn is Eric Davis with 23 stolen bases at first. The other horn is Dave Parker. We gave you that note about Eric Davis being the player of the month, back-to-back months, April and May. The last player to do that is at home plate, Dave Parker. Eric, with 23 stolen bases, has been caught only twice. Fernando has an excellent move.
He's got a good lead, too. He's got at least a foot on its surface.
That's the commercial move. He's just trying to lull him. That's not his number one, I'm going to try and get you pickoff move.
Look at that lead. Confident.
Yeah. Boy, and how when you see the right foot that far out on the rug.
You got it.
That's a confident runner. Last night, in a blink of an eye, Eric stole second, and before you knew he was at second, he stole third.
When I asked Billy DeMars about that, he said he's got both of them on the artificial surface now.
Wow.
That's telling the pitcher I can run if I want to. Oh, you like that. I like to see that in players. That's what they call inner arrogance. And good ones have it. He as much as said to Fernando, put your best move on me. I'll put both feet on the surface, and you still won't get me.
Fernando has picked off 3 runners. So this is a little battle within the fight. And he goes. Pitch is high. The throw is late. It's 24 stolen bases to go along with his 20 home runs.
And that was as much a message as if the Western Union had delivered it. Eric Davis was saying to Fernando, I don't care what you do, I'm going. He even broke back. He did not. He was leaning back to first base, and he makes it, I would say, easily. Remember, Pete Rose gives him the green light. He has a no-run sign, which you can run anytime you want, and he ran off second last night.
Hard to believe he is that close to Vince Coleman while hitting 20 home runs. That's why we said at the start he might very well be the first player in baseball history to steal 40 and hit 40 home runs.
If you're wondering what a franchise player is when you see it in the print or hear us talk about it, that's Eric Davis. Pete Rose said two things about him. One of them, he said, it's an honor to put his name in the lineup. And then he said today, he's just the fastest player in the league.
3 balls, no strikes. And they let Parker swing, and he pops it up. And it'll be Anderson at shortstop calling. So the big gamble, letting the big guy swing 3-0, and he pops it up. So Davis is left at second base, and at the end of an inning, Dodgers nothing, Reds nothing.
Introducing the new 35mm automatic one-touch from Nikon. It puts great photography at everybody's fingertips. Only you.
Just because you've washed your car doesn't mean you're finished. After each wash, you need some Armor All on the dash, the bumper, and especially the tires. Armor All. It's the finishing touch every time you wash your car.
You're my dream.
And now, introducing Clean Start, the new cleaner which safely removes tough dirt. Clean Start, only from Armor All products.
Hi, I'm Mr. Goodwrench. I was GM trained in Chicago.
I'm Mr. Goodwrench. Got my GM training in Terrytown, New York.
No matter where he lives.
Phoenix, Arizona.
Portland, Oregon.
Mr. Goodwrench can get something not just any mechanic can get. GM training.
Got my GM training in Oklahoma City.
I was GM trained in Atlanta.
GM has training schools all over America.
Miami, Florida.
Buffalo, New York.
Memphis, Tennessee.
So no matter where you are,
Houston, Texas.
no one knows your GM car better. No one.
After all the action, nothing cuts through thirst like Gatorade Thirst Quencher. It speeds in fluids and minerals and supplies energy to working muscles.
Gatorade is thirsty for that deep down body thirst.
Next to the untouchables, only one team has come along with the guts to take on the mob. As you've never seen it before, Crime Story, the movie, Sunday.
A long-range needle from the Dodger dugout. That's Oral Hershiser with a picture of Joe Garagiola's playing card. And they're chewing it up.
Nice going, Oral.
Cincinnati means something to you. Isn't it a little special here?
Yes, I played my first Major League game here, Vin, and I also hit my first Major League home run. Too bad we didn't have videotape to save it. I would love to show it to you.
Here's Mike Marshall. Ground ball wide to third. Buddy Bell is right there to throw him out. One pitch, one away. Buddy Bell, chip off the old block. Of course, his dad, Gus Bell, was a great player for the Reds in the 50s, an outfielder.
Supposed to be here in the ballpark, but I can't find him. I know a lot of the Pittsburgh fans would like to see him again, especially with that big centennial coming up at the end of the month.
Boy, that's a dream come true, isn't it? You're a father of a youngster. He becomes a big league ball player like you were, and he is now traded to the team that you played for in your town, etc., etc. Wow.
And with good numbers.
Franklin Stubbs, with a 10-game hitting streak, has pretty good numbers. Ball one. Stubbs hitting .291. And, of course, a bit of sock. He had 7 home runs in the month of April. No home runs in May. And he has hit 3 home runs in June. So a total of 10. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's the pitch that really gives him the problem. The one that's down and in. It's almost like it's a blind spot for him.
Or down and away. And one of the big reasons is his physical makeup, the way he hits. Tell you what, if you can watch his back, he is, Lasorda calls him, a straight-backed hitter. In other words, he's not bent over. Consequently, he has a lot of trouble in going after that ball down because his back is almost ramrod stiff.
Hamilton, the Dodger third baseman, is really a stiff back guy.
And he's caught looking stiff back and all. Shakes his head, but that's not going to get it. 2 down. So Ted Power, who struck out as many as 11 in a ballgame this year, nails Stubbs. And now Ted goes to work on Alex Trevino, who spent almost 3 years here at Cincinnati. A much Travel Trevino catching every day now with Mike Socia with a broken finger. At one stage, the first 3 games he played against his old team, the Mets, he went 6 for 12. That's right. He's had a sore arm, a sore shoulder. The Reds are a running team anyway, and if they have a chance, they'll try and take advantage of it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Reds, by the way, steal better than 8 out of every 10. So they are a running team. Second to the Cardinals. That's a strike. Ted Power started with the Dodgers in 1976. He was eventually dealt away, and now he's come back to haunt them. Ground ball to shortstop. Barry Larkin in front of the bag to take care of it. So the Dodgers are gone in order, and at the end of an inning and a half, the Dodgers nothing, the Reds nothing.
It's real. I know it's real. No other reason for the way I feel. Oh yeah, it's as real as it gets. It feels good. So right.
The best things are the real things, and draft beer is the real beer. Miller Genuine Draft.
Oh yeah, it's as real as it gets.
Time for an oil change. But we're not using your Quaker State. We're switching to something better. New Quaker State with QSX.
Introducing new Quaker State with QSX because car-carrying people want superior engine protection. Look at the sludge other leading motor oils can leave behind. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer.
I knew you'd like it. Ready? Hey, no.
Now reach for the best and grab a bargain. Save $3.60 on a case of new Quaker State.
Buy yourself a little freedom. Get yourself a great little car. See how it feels to have your own set of wheels. Buy a little freedom, buy a Yugo. Go anywhere you want to, anytime you want. Just get up and go. See how it feels to have your own set of wheels. Buy a little freedom, buy a Yugo.
Yugo, America's most affordable new cars.
Tonight, so right for a ball game. Eat a dog, cheer the team, catch a ball. Tonight, I'm gonna catch one. There it goes. No, I won't. Not very tall. It's great just to be here. If I don't catch a ball, I'm still part of it all.
Here you go. Have a ball.
Get up and go. The preceding was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Bottom of the second inning at Riverfront, no score. Buddy Bell, Nick Osaski, and then Bo Diaz, all right-hand batters. In fact, the lineup is stacked with right-handers except for Dave Parker. Bell hitting .300 right on the button. He had a streak going, a hot hitter, until he pulled a hamstring. He had a 16-game streak, pulled a hamstring on the 11th of May, and made his first start last night. Legs are heavily wrapped, and he does not have much running speed at all. Easy out on the ground ball. 1 down. A lot going on today. Let's get an update from New York and go to Bill McAdoo.
Thank you, Vin. Bottom of the first in Boston. Wade Boggs with a man on against Frank Tanana. Boggs takes it over the wall and right. And remember, Wade Boggs has never hit more than 8 home runs in a single season in his career. That for Wade is number 10. 2-0, Red Sox.
One away, Nick Osaski, who was out with a broken wrist. He was hit on the wrist in an exhibition game. Went to Nashville, has returned, and has been a hot hitter. He was activated the 19th of May. A shot down the left field line, foul.
I was watching him during batting practice, and you can really see when you take a close-up, he has got big, big hands. I mean, those are meat hooks.
They have been waiting for Osaski, as you can look at those hands.
They are big. Strong.
They've been waiting for him to do some big things, and he might be just about ready to do it. Sosky is 6'3" and 210, a #1 draft choice. Grew up in Miami. He has hit as many as 21 home runs for the Reds. Now a one-out pass will bring up Bo Diaz.
Diaz is one of the guys that Pete likes to hit and run with, and you can see what happened to the Dodgers when they didn't do anything with Guerrero up there. Double play. The hit and run play keeps you out of that double play, and Pete likes to use guys like Diaz and Concepcion and start the runner.
Bo Diaz in each of the last 5 years has had a higher batting average with men on base than with bases empty. I think I would interpret part of that as the fact that the hitter has an advantage with men on base because the pitcher is pitching out of a stretch. And wouldn't you say that most pitchers lose a little bit out of a stretch as opposed from a windup?
That, yes, and of course you break up that infield when you start guys, and you can punch one through there.
One thing about Diaz, of course, catcher doesn't run too well. He is grounded into a half a dozen double plays, so the Dodgers are thinking Rose will try to avoid the double play and put a play on, and they pitch out.
I think I would have done that myself, thinking like that. And now Diaz takes a good look at Billy DeMars because that'd be a good time to put it on. They won't double pitch out unless the manager orders it.
1 ball, no strike. No score, second inning. Fernando gave up a base hit and had Eric Davis steal second. Now as Sosky walks, remember we told you the combination of the fact that the Reds run a great deal and Trevino is not 100%. He has a sore shoulder. Ball 2.
Diaz taking a good look at DeMars. He'd like to know, is the play on, or are you going to let me hit 2 balls and no strikes? Managers control 3-1, 3-0, and 2-0, and a lot of times they'll just turn them loose and let them have a good swing.
Bo was hit in 6 out of 7, and he has his swing and hits it foul down the right field line back into the crowd.
Right now, I would say bet the house, but I've lost 3 or 4 houses since I've been working with you.
I'm in a real estate way now. I've got so many of your houses.
Okay, I'm going to bet the house that the hit and run plays on this one.
Yeah, I would too.
You going to go along with
it? Yeah, this time I agree.
Okay, all right. We bet 2 houses?
We swap houses.
Okay.
2-1, the count to Bo Diaz. We'll watch Sosky. There he goes, and the pitch foul back.
We had that locked, you know. Had it locked.
2-2.
He got a late start, too. There's nothing that Trevino could do. 2 balls and 1 strike when they play hit and run. You really boxed in unless you're absolutely sure that you have the steal sign. You're not going to pitch out.
And Sosky has not been involved in a stolen base this year. He's not that kind of a player.
1 out, second inning, no score. That ball is hit in the air to left field. Guerrero is there. Makes the catch, and back to first base goes Sosky.
I'm not so sure he saw that ball that well.
I'll tell you, the fellow who helped me when the ball was hit, Jeff Hamilton, pointed to him as if to say, it's going to your way.
Yeah, well, that's what an infielder should do, and Guerrero looked like he just wasn't sure of it. Look at him. He's feeling for it. He really is. Now he's got it.
Fernando is pitching a little dangerously, even though it doesn't show. But he has only gotten 2 first pitches for strikes, and he's been behind now on the last 5 hitters. Dangerous way to pitch. He does have the luxury. He's at the bottom of the lineup. But it's not the bottom when you have somebody like David Concepcion, who has been here since 1970. One of the great names in Cincinnati history. Out of Venezuela, boy, what a player.
And we got to tell you about his young son, David Alejandro. First thing he told me, he said he led the little veterans little league in hitting with .450 average and was voted the best first baseman, and I said he must get his power from his mother.
He was born in a good year. His son was born in '75, a year that the Reds won the World Championship, beating the Red Sox. 2-1, the count to Concepcion. Fernando Valenzuela.
You know, I can remember that then because I was on a Cincinnati bus going to the World Series, and Patuca Perez, Tony's wife, was helping take care of David and the little guy who was there. Imagine that, how time flies.
Yeah, and how. Both boys are named David. David Alejandro and David Eduardo. Eduardo's only 5. And that's hit foul down the right field line, out of play, and the count 2-2. Concepcion, since 1970, played with this man, another great name in Cincinnati and baseball history, Tony Perez, or as they would say, Perez.
Good guy. Good guy.
Tony from Camagüey, Cuba. And that's hit in the air. Marshall falls down, comes up, makes a sliding catch. And let's see if he's all right. He went down twice, once for the mandatory 8 count, but he came up with the ball. So Marshall wrestles that fly ball to a draw. Scoreless at the end of 2. We'll be right back after these messages from you.
This A-team is murder.
I killed Colonel Morris. I helped him do it. It was all 3 of us.
Will it be the dungeon or death for the A-team Sunday?
Want to go bowling?
I'd be delighted.
Come on, get with it. Let's share the fun. Grab the flavor, that's number 1. I know the beer that fits just right. Make mine delight. Make mine delight. Make mine delight.
All right, class, and
You're watching a class of bank officers being retrained in the latest techniques. But for some of them, it takes time.
will you make the loan? No. Well?
But the training is relentless.
And?
At Central Trust,
Yes.
you can count on friendly people who want to make loans.
Yes.
Central Trust, the bank that makes things happen.
Wait till you see what Gold Star has going on now. It's the Gold Star Pete Rose Action Glass, a collector's item from Gold Star Chili.
Just come to Gold Star for Cincinnati's finest chili. Buy a medium Pepsi for 99 cents, and the glass is yours free.
Supplies are limited, so you better hustle.
Get your Pete Rose Action Glass free when you buy a medium Pepsi for 99 cents.
Take it from a real Cincinnatian. Gold Star Chili is Cincinnati's finest.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous, tonight at 7.
On the left in the plaid shirt is the executive vice president and general manager of the Reds, Bill Burgess. And on his left and picture right, putting his cigar in the ashtray, the major, Ralph Houck, who is here today. And it just seems right that we should see Ralph Houck on this June the 6th, the anniversary of D-Day, the invasion of Normandy. The old Ranger was, I think he hit the beaches about D-Day 5 days after. Won the Silver Star. A real hero.
Yes, sir. I think that was his lovely wife, Betty. We could barely see her. They're here visiting their daughter. Lasorda was telling Ralph Houck stories before the game. He played for him at Denver.
Sure. 1-1 to count. But to all the men and women who served with distinction, and of course to the memory of all of those who gave their lives. June the 6th, 1944, D-Day, the invasion of Europe. And you can always hear the voice of Dwight Eisenhower telling the people of Western Europe. Well, Hamilton hits one into left center. He's going to try for 2, and he's going to make it as Davis can't hold on to it. So Hamilton at second, nobody out. Anderson and Valenzuela coming up. We'll see if Eric Davis had a problem with that ball and why. Backhanding, and it hit the heel of the glove. So that took away any chance. It's a double for Hamilton, and it'll bring up Dave Anderson. Also on this day, June the 6th, 1942, was an extremely important day in our country's history. The Battle of Midway, when the Japanese finally retreated for the first time. We dug in, and that was a monumental battle.
Boy, that's one thing Bo Diaz is not afraid to do, is to throw that ball around and try to pick people off. That was no set play. He got it. He saw his shortstop Larkin get in behind him. He fires, and what that does sometimes is cut that lead of the base runner a bit, just enough for the outfielder to make a play at the plate, and that's really what you want to have happen.
And Hamilton does not have great running speed, so if you intimidate him, you really take away any of his running. 2 balls and no strikes to count to Dave Anderson. We're in the top of the 3rd. No score. Ted Power Trying to win his 5th. He's 4-2, a 10-game winner last year. Hamilton waiting to be picked up at second base. This is a very important time. Although you say, well, it's only June, but this is an extremely pivotal month, because for the next 25 games, you stay within your division. So the Dodgers and Reds each have 25 games with strictly Western Division teams. It's a time where if you are wallowing, you might make a move and get back into the race. The Reds, of course, are leading by 2. They'll be playing the Giants starting Monday. The Dodgers are trailing by 6. They're trying to get something going, and they have 25 games to do it. However, the other thought is, if you don't get it done, you could get buried in those 25.
You could be wallowed out.
4-4 to Anderson. So Ted Power gives up the double and a walk, and now Fernando Valenzuela, who is a good hitting pitcher, coming up.
That's when you really have to settle down your pitching, because that's absolutely bad pitching. Because now Fernando bunts him over, he executes properly, and not only does he get him in scoring position, he gets in out of that hot sun. You want that pitcher to be on the bases if possible, or at least run some. But it's a setup now for Valenzuela to get the job done and really get a reward.
Fernando strikes out about 20% of the time. That makes him a good hitting pitcher, and he is sacrificed twice. He might be allowed to swing. We'll see.
Oh, man, Vin, don't say that.
Well, they shorten up with the Sosky and Bell. There you go.
Yeah, but that was at
well, it's a decoy, but he's still swinging.
Yeah, but they tried so hard. Wait a minute.
You owe me a cottage, if not a house.
No. You can.
Well, he swung.
You cannot let the man hit in that particular spot. They broke so soon with what the play is really termed with an obscenity.
Joe, wait a minute. Take a look. Is the man bunting or is the man swinging?
Well, that kind of swing.
What?
But
I want a cottage by the sea.
God, he should be bunting is what he should be doing. They put the play on, and Lasorda, I'm sure, says if they're charging hard, you have the option to swing away. But
sure, dig out from under.
No.
0-1 to count.
Well, then it's bad managing if he let him hit.
0-1 to Fernando. Now he's bunting, and it's going to be a foul ball. 0-2 to Fernando Valenzuela. So Hamilton doubles, Anderson walks, and Fernando up there, no balls, 2 strikes.
Now what would you do?
Well, I don't think he'll bunt.
Well, now isn't that something? There goes Lasorda. He's already given the sign. No, that's got to be decoys of all kinds. For me, I tell you, he's bunting. And for you, he's not.
No, I don't say that. I don't say he's not. You mean you want me to actually manage?
Yeah.
Oh, hey. We're just guessing what the manager's going to do.
Oh. I say bunt.
He's swinging. There you go. Ha, ha, ha. He got his man, and you owe me another cottage.
I didn't bet you.
You're a terrible manager.
No, I didn't bet
it. Weaseling out. Well, let's go to Bill McAtee and clear the air.
Okay, thank you very much, Vin. Darryl Strawberry has the flu, so didn't start today against the Pirates, but he just came in to pinch hit in the bottom of the 7th and drilled this towering 2-run home run, his 16th, 4-2 Mets. Back to Cincinnati.
Well, and talking about Darryl Strawberry hitting a home run, it brings up the fact that Eric Davis has taken 4 home runs away from National League hitters with leaping and some say impossible catches where his glove went way above and over the wall. He did it to his good buddy Darryl Strawberry. He did it to Jim Morrison of Pittsburgh, and twice for good measure he did it to Jack Clark of the Cardinals. Here's Sachs with runners at 2nd and 3rd. 4-1. Sachs flied to right in the 1st inning, hitting .257.
He did it back-to-back to Clark.
Can you
imagine that? Hitting one out one night and having it robbed and come back the next night? Ugh.
1 ball and no strikes to Steve Sachs. Hamilton at 3rd. Anderson at 2nd. In there. 1 ball, 1 strike. Sachs hit a home run. And when he came into the dugout, Lasorda put his arms around him and said, don't let it happen again. Sachs then went into a slump where he was 1 for 20. He came out of that by hitting a home run. 1-1. Foul tip. If you're wondering, in this kind of a spot, Sachs does not have a sacrifice fly ball. We have not seen the arm of Tracy Jones in left field, but we know that Eric Davis has a good arm, and in right field you have a cannon.
Boy, remember that All-Star game in Seattle? Oh, what a throw that was.
Dave Parker, the Cobra. And with Hamilton at third, the Dodgers do not have great running speed, not by any means. Now back, still 1-2. We're in the third, no score. Pull up a chair and spend part of Saturday with us. It's hot. Ted Power will swear to that out on the mound. AstroTurf, of course, seems to make it twice as hot.
Oh, man, I was standing on there, and then my feet were burning, and I didn't have spikes on, just regular Kmart shoes.
I remember you. Your best.
My best.
1-2. He got that breaking ball and fouled it away, so it's still 1 ball and 2 strikes. I remember years ago, Steve Garvey was playing third. That's how many years ago it was. And he burned the soles of his feet from standing on the AstroTurf. They took pictures of it. 1-2. 1 away in the third, no score. Dodgers at second and third. Fastball fouled away, and he just did get the bat on it. It was almost past him. So that wasn't so much as an offensive rip. That was a defensive hack. 1 ball, 2 strikes. We're in the third, no score. Sachs had a 13-game hitting streak snap at the end of May. Last year he had a 25-game streak. 1-2. And that one is popped up in foul ground. Asosky coming over might run out of room. He does. Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati opened up in 1970, and that was the beginning of the dominant years from 70 certainly through 76. 6 league championships, 4 World Series, 2 World Championships. And Pete Rose, who was signed June the 16th, 1960. 27 years ago, he'll have an anniversary when he first signed a Cincinnati Reds contract. And you know what really brings up how time have flown? There are 12 major league managers, 12 younger than Pete Rose. It's hard to believe that Pete Rose is slowly becoming an elder statesman. 12 major league managers are younger than he is. A ground ball to the right side. Handling it is Concepcion. The run scores. Anderson takes third. If you're wondering, just to conclude the Pete Rose note, he's 46 years old. Let's check some scores. What we do have, Pete was 46 on the 14th. That's his number. Well, there's a good number for Baltimore, trying to slow down Toronto. 5-1 in the 7th inning. The Mets, thanks to Darryl Strawberry, leading the Pirates 4-2 in the 8th. And of course they got a big lift from Gooden last night. Wade Boggs lifting the Red Sox to a 2-1 lead against Detroit. Strike to John Shelby. Dodgers leading 1-0. When you think about it, the key to the inning, the fact that Fernando was able to get his men over with a count of no balls and 2 strikes. That's changed the whole thing. 2 balls and 1 strike to John T-Bone Shelby.
Diaz is one of these catchers that gives the umpire a real good view of the pitch, and he'll move at the very last minute so he doesn't tip off the location.
Little foul, out of play.
And it was interesting when we had that shot of Pete Rose, Tommy Helms sitting next to him, because the Cincinnati Reds have 6 coaches, and I asked Pete to break them down, and when he got to Tommy Helms, he said, he's my assistant. I said, what does that mean? He said, well, he's there like Bill Scherger used to be there to remind me of outs, who's coming up, and so we don't overlook anything. Pretty good idea.
And how? He doesn't miss much. 1-0 Dodgers, top of the 3rd. And Shelby goes down. So that's the 2nd strikeout for Ted Power. The Dodgers get 1 and leave 1 at 3rd. And at the end of 2.5, 1-0 Dodgers.
I've been shot at, shot up, and shot down. So I don't take chances on anything. I won't touch a filter that isn't from AC. Why mess with air filters that can't go for up to 30,000 miles? Or oil filters that can't deliver up to 15,000.
Now, get up to $7 back on AC filters and plugs. See your retailer for details.
If you put your muscle into a job, use your head and do it with AC Delco.
You want personal service, and State Farm is there.
I'm State Farm Agent John Monson. Anybody can sell you insurance, but backing it up with service is what really counts. When my customers need any help with their auto, home, life, or health insurance, or they have a claim, they come right to me. State Farm agents don't hide from you after you buy the policy.
And like a good neighbor,
We're there, backing it with service.
State Farm is there.
At Braun, we believe simple is better than complicated. Order is better than confusion. Quiet is better than loud. Only through superior design can one achieve superior performance. It is this philosophy that has helped make Braun the #1 selling foil shaver in the world. What's also helped is that no other shaver gives you a closer shave. Braun, now available in America.
Vinny Pazienza, a fireball in perpetual motion. His style resembles nothing short of controlled mayhem. Greg Haugen, the champ, a throwback to the Jack Dempsey days, is the quintessential tough guy. Pazienza battles Haugen, the IBF Lightweight Championship on NBC Sports World.
Couple of umpires having a chat. Bruce Fremming on the right, Jim Quick on the left.
Fremming looks good. He's lost about 17 pounds. He's in pretty good shape.
And
Good.
it's nice to mark the return of Jim Quick wearing number 15. He's the 3rd base umpire. We'll tell you why in a moment. Ted Power followed by Tracy Jones and Barry Larkin. That's 4-1. As so often happens when you travel a lot. You're in a strange room, strange bed. You wake up in the middle of the night. You don't know where the bathroom is. All kinds of problems if you're traveling there. Great stop by Anderson, and he throws a balloon over the head of Franklin Stubbs. So Power is aboard.
He may have forgotten who was running because he makes a good play, and he really hurried it. And I don't know if he jammed his right hand when he fell. He may have burned it a bit, but you can see it right there because you saw him work on it. He may have gotten one of those rug burns because when he throws it, that's what he threw, an infield fly over there. And Stubbs can't get it, and Power not that fast.
They are ruling it a base hit. Ooh. Although any kind of a decent throw, it would have been an out. The batter now is Tracy Jones. It's a slow roller. Sachs has to go back and get it, and the throw is a wild one. And instead of 2 out and nobody on, the Reds have 2nd and 3rd and nobody out.
The throw from Sachs when it gets by Stubbs hits the protective fence in front of the dugout, and Trevino, it got by him with the carom, although he was behind the play. See what happens. Sachs off balance. Stubbs can't get it. Trevino trying to play the angle, and it just kind of hugs it and gets by him. There you see him. And boy, those are 2 big bases to pick up.
So what a killer for Fernando. 2 ground balls, although Anderson had to make a great stop. He still should have had it. And now Lasorda sees his defense undermine Valenzuela. And that's a a shot into left field. It's going to mean 2 runs, just like that. Barry Larkin into second base, standing with a double. 2-1, Cincinnati. And Lasorda is saying to himself what every manager has said since the beginning of time. Boy, when you're going good, things go your way, and when you're going bad, you can't even feel a ground ball.
And on that particular pitch, his defense was stacked in right center field, and he pulls it down the line. Nobody had a chance to get it, and it was easy 2 runs. And the big thing about it is, when you get an opportunity like the Cincinnati Reds just got, the sooner you capitalize on it, the better off you're going to be, obviously. And that really sends another message to the Dodgers that they got a break. Cincinnati did, and they captured it.
Well, here's Eric Davis. Ball 1.
He should not get a good ball to hit here.
No. First base open, and the left-hand hitter Dave Parker on deck. You know, one thing, there's a lot of interest in Eric Davis, and the fact that he's an 8th-round draft pick. A lot of teams let him go by. 8th round. However, there are some pretty big names who were drafted late. Wade Boggs, for instance, was a 7th-round pick. Jack Clark was a 13th-round pick. And would you believe Don Mattingly was a 19th-round pick?
I think Baseball America had a scouting report, Ben. I'm just kind of going, I read about it on Mattingly. They said, not sure about his baseball interest.
Yeah. How about that? It's the toughest job in the world, I think, for sports.
Yes.
To try and look at high school and college kids and project. That has to be the toughest of all. He was a kid, played on a Connie Mack team with Darryl Strawberry and Chris Brown of the San Francisco Giants. He loved to play basketball. He played basketball with Byron Scott, who went on to play with the Lakers. There's a fly ball to Marshall. Tagging at second is Larkin, and he's going to beat the throw.
Tell you, that is a tip-off, and that's a pretty good ad for the Cincinnati team. Marshall has a good arm. I would say it's above average. And Larkin didn't even hesitate. As soon as the ball was hit, he went back to the bag. I really thought he might be decoying, and he just took off. And when he got about 15 feet from third base, he did one of those half gainers going into third base. And I tell you, if you're scouting the Cincinnati ball club, the one thing you put at the top of your list is we'll run at any time.
The Dodgers, who had to be deflated and discouraged last night, are really dragging now. Here is an inning, a ground ball by the pitcher, a bad throw puts him aboard. A ground ball to the second baseman, a bad throw puts runners at second and third. Then a double for 2, and the fly ball gets him to third. The Dodgers thought he left too early. Bruce Fleming said no. So the Reds have manufactured the runs with a little help from the Dodgers, and it's 2-1 Cincinnati in the third. And Parker, who hits Fernando, he's hitting over 320 against him.
Last night, Davis manufactured a run, stole second, stole third, and boom.
Yeah, they can do it. That's why they're in first place, leading by 2. Ball 1 to the Cobra.
This guy's something. They got on him about his weight. Parker said, I'm gonna get it off. How? He said, by hitting doubles and triples.
He wears a windbreaker zippered right up to his chin in practice. And in this heat, that's something. 1-1. Do you think I'll ever finish Jim quick, or should I just leave you wondering about strange bathrooms and beds on the road?
No, I'm trying to figure out the end of that story. I thought I'd seen on Murder, She Wrote or something.
I was just going to welcome him back, and it got away. And that's foul back.
Well, wait till we get a lull. Wait till we get away. That's the star of your story. But let's wait and see what happens here. Hold it a bit.
Okay. 1-2 the count to Dave Parker.
And we get him scratching his navel. You believe that?
2-1 Reds in the third. 2-2. Pretty good save by Trevino, especially with a runner at third, Larkin. Parker, the National League most valuable player in 1978. He had an incredible year. He hit .334, 30 home runs, 117 ribbies, 20 stolen bases, and he'll probably be passed by Eric Davis this year. And he drives it to right. That's a base hit. So the run is in, and it is 3-1 Cincinnati.
And I just want to point out one thing here. Larkin, who scores easily, as soon as Parker hit that ball, broke right back to the bag. What does that tell you? That they're schooled pretty well in the fundamentals. He wasn't going to get caught in no man's land. And that ball looked base hit all the way. Watch him break back now in the insert. There he goes back. In case it's caught, he's going to tag up. Sees it drop, and here he comes. He knows they're not going to get him. Good base running.
So the Reds doing everything right here in the third inning, and they're leading 3-1. And the batter is Buddy Bell, who grounded to third in the second inning. And there goes Parker. The pitch in the dirt. The big guy stolen it easily. And that figured. We told you the Reds run, and Trevino has a sore shoulder.
And I tell you, Rose lets him go. They're playing a little bit behind him, and it gets him a while to kickstart that body, but he got into shape pretty good. What do you think, about 4 on the seismograph? Woo.
On the Richter scale. 1 ball and no strikes. In case you're wondering about Parker and his base running exploits, he's perfect. He is 5 for 5 in stolen bases. Any way you cut it, that's over 80% and a mark of a fine ball club.
You see how he took his lead going towards the outfield. Now watch him work his way in as the pitcher gets set.
In there, 2-1. The Dodgers got a run in the top of the third as Hamilton doubled and eventually scored on a ground ball by Sachs. And the Reds have come back with 3. Last year, the Reds beat the Dodgers 7 out of 9 times here at Riverfront. And the Dodgers are a poor road club. They're 6 games under 500, and they have the worst record in the majors on AstroTurf, 2-12. So the cards are definitely stacked against them here.
Sure.
Buddy Bell, he had a great second half. Came over from Texas, took him a while to get adjusted. The only other player who had a better second half than Bell last year was Mike Schmidt. Bell last year hit 15 home runs in the second half. Mike hit 18. And that's whacked foul into the corner. In looking at the Reds so far in the third inning, Fernando has not struck out a hitter. He has been averaging almost 8 strikeouts a game. And he's asking Trevino to go over the signs again. 3-1. 1 out. Scroogey in the dirt. So Bell is aboard, and Nick Esaski will be the 7th man to come up in the inning. That's the second walk given up by Fernando. Ron Pernoski walks down the length of the Dodger dugout. He is left Lasorda's side, and Alejandro Pena will make the walk down towards the bullpen. So Pernoski has dispatched the right-hander Alejandro Pena to the bullpen. Now back 0-1. Esaski walked in the second inning. Three to 1 in favor of the Reds. Third inning. 2-on. Parker at second, Bell at first. 1 out. Missed with a screwball, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. There's Pena.
Get that screwball over. Otherwise, they just wait for that fastball and get those pretty good rips. He threw that one, I thought, a little bit harder than he's been throwing. Esaski just didn't get around on it.
Fernando is 3-1 in April, 2-1 in May, 0-1 in June. 1-2. Missed with that screwball. 2-2 the count.
And he was pitching good, Vin, and of course you saw him so much. He had the two screwballs, the hard one and then that one he could change speeds on.
And although it looked like a strike, it wasn't, and the hitters were always swinging at it. And he is working very, very hard.
Yes, he is. That tells you right there.
Only in the third inning. There's no way as he wild pitches one, but it goes up into the stand, and the ball is dead. One base from the rubber, so there'll be runners at second and third.
When he threw that pitch, it looked like he had extra on it. Watch him give it that little extra right there, and down she goes. Trevino didn't even get a piece of the equipment on it, and it bounced all the way into the stands. That tells you the ball is live when it hits in front of the plate and goes in the stands.
Yeah, I think it hit Trevino's left shin guard. For Fernando, and it might be a case of forcing himself, he's now made 5 wild pitches this year. So first base open and a full count to Asaski. And it's hit inside the left field foul line. Barker will score, even on a bad leg. Bell will score on a double by Asaski, and that was a bad pitch. There was nothing on it.
The outside part of the plate, and he just reached out and was able to pull it. He went out and got it and served it is what he did.
If you were wondering about Fernando and his strikeout pitch, this was not it.
You can see him turn that hand over and just pull it down the left field line.
So Fernando is down 5-1 in the third inning. In his last game, he went 5 innings and allowed 10 hits and 5 runs. He's gone 2 1/3 today, and he's allowed 6 hits and 5 runs. Out away. In years gone by, Asaski would have been put away. He had 2 strikes on him. That would have been that. But Nick hanging tough, 3-2, doubles in 2. 0-1. Bo Diaz flied to left in the second inning. And that's a little pop fly behind second. It will be Anderson. 2 down. So the 9th man will be coming up here in the third inning. Davy Concepcion. If the ground balls were handled properly, both Power and Jones would have been retired. Larkin doubled and Davis fly ball would have ended the inning, and the Reds would not have scored. But the Dodger defense on the throwing error by Sachs, plus the questionable throw by Dave Anderson, opened up the dikes, and the Reds have scored 5. 0-1. Concepcion had a pinch hit double last night. Popped in the air back at first base. The shades are down for Stubbs. Makes the play in tough territory because he's going over the home plates in the bullpen. 5 big runs for the Reds. 1 man left, and it's 5-1 Cincinnati.
In North Carolina, Honda lawnmowers are assembled from the wheels up. Then the final critical step, the Clara Johnson test. If Clara pulls and it starts, it's a Honda.
Ship it.
You know, I always wondered, why does Miller High Life come in a clear bottle? Boy, did I ever find out.
It shows the quality and the purity in our beer. It's a natural process. No shortcuts. We don't cut corners.
One reason for the clear bottle was to show purity, but there was another one, too.
This is dark roasted barley malt.
I found out.
And what'd you think that was?
I just thought he was overthrowing.
I did too. It broke like it was a curveball and just went by everything, but it looked like he tried to put extra into it.
Here's Pedro Guerrero, and a breaking ball is up, ball 1. How does it feel right now for Guerrero? He said the other day in his Spanish accent, I don't understand. When we hit, it takes 5 minutes. When they hit, an hour and a half. Ball 2.
How about that line that Mike Downey had in the paper? Last year the Dodgers played without Guerrero, and this year Guerrero's playing without the Dodgers.
Well, his numbers would certainly indicate it. He's hitting .349. Hit into a double play in the first inning. And hits a high fly ball to right center. Davis started back, but he comes up for it. One away, and the batter will be Mike Marshall. See what reports we have on other games. Toronto trying to get closer, but Baltimore still leading 5-3 in the 8th. The Mets, with a big assist from Darryl Strawberry's home run, beat Pittsburgh 4-2. The Red Sox, with a home run from a rather unexpected quarter, Wade Boggs leading Detroit 2-1 in the 4th. The White Sox leading the Angels 1-0 in the 4th. And Marshall a ground ball to Larkin. 2 down. And the batter will be Franklin Stubbs, and a couple of more reports. The Cubs trying to get back. Remember, the Cardinals are leading them by 3. The Cubs leading the Cardinals 2-0 in the first inning. And Cleveland leading Oakland 2-0 in the first inning. Cleveland in last place in the East. Oakland only 2.5 back of Kansas City. Franklin Stubbs, the batter. A little while ago, we were talking about this great day and the importance of June the 6th in our country's history, the Battle of Midway and D-Day. On a more personal note, in baseball, it is the birthday of one of our favorite people, Hall of Famer Bill Dickey.
Down in Little Rock, Arkansas right now, and I guarantee you he's watching.
80 years old today. High foul, Bell coming over to the Dodger dugout, and Buddy makes the play.
It didn't take 5 minutes.
No, less than 5. So the Dodgers tiptoe through the 4th, and it's 5-1 Reds.
Buy yourself a little freedom.
When you drive a Yugo, it's good to know you've got 4-wheel independent suspension, front-wheel drive, and rack and pinion steering, all for $39.90.
Buy a little freedom, buy a Yugo.
Dan waited a long time to see this. He almost missed it. Not long ago, Dan had a heart attack. Since then, his doctor prescribed a regimen including exercise, the right foods, and aspirin. Studies with people who have had a heart attack or unstable angina show aspirin help reduce their risk of a heart attack.
He was always there when I needed him.
Ask your doctor how aspirin can help you. This message brought to you by Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Maybe you'll be lucky. Maybe you'll just have to replace your connecting rods. But maybe you'll need new valves. Then your bearings and crankshaft could go. Maybe even your rings and pistons. But you can help prevent all this for just a few dollars with a Fram Wear Guard Oil Filter. A leading consumer magazine rated Fram Best. So you can pay a few dollars now or a lot later.
Chocolate is scrumptious when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunch. That's why I love Nestle Crunch.
An American tradition continues. In 1948, he became the first National Leaguer ever to be named MVP 3 times. Stan Musial was the Cardinals' hitman. Today, slugger Jack Clark powers the Cardinals as they face the Cubs, or the Red Sox meet the Tigers. The tradition is here. The memories are waiting.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the saga of Jim Quick. Tale number 2 is narrated by Vin Scully.
When last we talked about Jim Quick, he was in bed sleeping in his hotel room. We'll get back to that in a little while. Anyway, he got up and there was a shelf, kind of a canopy over the bed where you put books and radios and all kinds of. He didn't know that. He was just waking up. And in sitting up quickly, he not only hit his head on the shelf, but he opened up his scalp, bled profusely. They rushed him to the hospital for stitches in the head. And his blood pressure was high, and they were worried he was having a heart attack. So they kept him in the hospital, and he finally returned and worked his first game in about a week last night. So the Jim Quick story took a lot longer than I had hoped to tell. And now you know more about Jim Quick than we really wanted. One away.
It had a happy ending, no?
Yeah, thank goodness he's over.
I thought it was going to be a story with a great middle, but happy ending.
Put it to music, it won't make it on Broadway. Tracy Jones will make it in Cincinnati for sure. Multi-talented kid grounded out aboard on what looked like an error. A tough play for Sachs, off balance, trying to twist, and the fact that Tracy Jones, a big man, was flying down the line made it that much tougher. 1 ball, 1 strike. It is 5-1 Reds. 5 runs, 6 hits. The Dodgers 1 run, 1 hit. Last night was one of the darndest games I ever saw. The totals in the 5th inning, the Dodgers had 6 runs and 12 hits. The Reds had no runs and no hits. Then the rest of the game, the Reds got 8 runs and 12 hits, and the Dodgers had nothing. It was almost like looking at a doubleheader. It was really one of the strangest games.
There were 2 4.5-inning games.
Dodgers won the first half, Reds won the second half. Payoff window was at the second half. Tracy Jones, his dad Jim in the Boston Red Sox organization. Strike on the inside corner. So Fernando strikes out 2 after going 3 innings without any. And the batter will be Barry Larkin. Larkin has been struggling. His average was under 200. He has got it over 200 now. He got the double to drive in 2 runs in the 3rd inning. 4-1. If the Reds win today, they would be 10 games over 500 for the 4th time this season. One and one. Ball 2.
He's throwing all hard stuff this inning. He's not even fooling with that off-speed screwgy.
He is due to bat 4th when the Dodgers hit in the 5th inning. And that one hit in the air to right. Marshall has a play. And that's the inning. A 1-2-3 inning for the first time for Fernando in 4. And at the end of 4, it is 5-1 Reds. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Monday, an exciting NBC miniseries starring Barry Boston, Brenda Vaccaro, Gina Lollobrigida, and Stephanie Powers as twins caught in deceptions. Monday.
Hello, baby. Chantilly lace and a pretty face.
AM 1360 is now playing classic hits from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Yes, AM 1360 is playing the greatest hits of all time again. AM 1360 is now the mighty K-Rock. AM 1360, the station you grew up with, is playing your favorites again.
When it's your turn to move, call the Long Distance Mover, Stacy Storage and Moving Company. For more than 100 years, Stacy has helped plan and move thousands of people like you. When you want your valuables to arrive in the condition they left, let our professionals expertly pack and move your belongings. We're a full-service company, knowledgeable about that new city you'll soon call home. So call us for information and a free estimate on your long-distance move, and put Stacy to work for you.
Just a moment. How do you stand with the Blue Cross, George?
Blue Cross and Blue Shield. We all grew up with it. But only Community Mutual Blue Cross and Blue Shield has grown up with us.
Community Mutual Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Caring today, we're leading the way. Community Mutual. Carry the caring card into the future.
Call your agent now.
Love Connection, weeknights at 7:30.
The 5th inning, 5-1 Reds, 5 runs, 6 hits. Dodgers 1 run, 1 hit, and 1 error. Alex Trevino, Jeff Hamilton, and Dave Anderson. 4-1. We mentioned that Fernando is due to bat 4th in the inning, and for one reason or another, Alejandro Pena is throwing again in the Dodger bullpen. Ball 2. Trevino grounded to short, 0 for 1, and we'd like to remind our viewers we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ballgame. 2-0. And strokes it to left. Coming in and over is Tracy Jones. So Trevino a fly ball to left, 1 down. Jeff Hamilton the batter. He'll be followed by Dave Anderson. In looking in the Dodger dugout, we can see Kenny Landreau with a bat. Landreau at the far end of the dugout, but not wearing a batting helmet. And maybe just a little restless. There he is. And that's hit foul down the left field line out of play.
With the center field shot we just had, this is a pretty good illustration, Ben, of what you were talking about and we were talking about as far as a stiff back hitter.
Right. If you had Don Sutton pitching to Jeff Hamilton, that would be the epitome of the stiff back. Pop fly, Gosowski. 2 down. Don Sutton is as straight up as any pitcher. Rick Sutcliffe is pretty straight up, and Hamilton looks like he's out of tension. Dave Anderson walked in the 3rd inning, and Anderson evidently will decide Fernando's future. Fernando has a windbreaker on, but he is over near the bat rack, and so is Kenny Landreau. 0-1. There's Landreau, and there's Fernando with the helmet on. 1-0. Ted Power working hard, and it's paying off. He gave up the double to Hamilton, and then he walked Anderson, and he's retired the next 8 in a row. Dodgers last night, the last 14 in a row were retired. One thing the Dodgers know from the record, when they're trailing in a ball game after 6 innings, they are really in trouble. They don't come back at all. When they're trailing at the end of 6 innings, they've come back 4 times and went on to lose 19 times. So they've got to get it done early. That does it for Anderson. That's 9 in a row retired by Ted Power. And at the end of 4.5 innings, 5-1 Reds.
Anybody can see that Miller High Life looks darker and richer than the other leading premium. And the people at Miller showed me why.
This is where it all starts.
Now tell me about this.
This is barley.
I saw how barley becomes malt.
What we have here is dark roasted barley malt.
And the roasted malt Miller blends in to make their beer darker.
You really can't see the difference.
I learned a lot from these people. And if making a beer that's dark and rich is the American way, I'd say Miller's doing a pretty good job of it.
Every day, more and more Americans are getting into cars insured by Liberty Mutual. In the past 2 years alone, 500,000 more Americans switched to Liberty Mutual for their auto and home insurance because we showed them how to make their dollars work harder. And each year, 9 out of 10 who start with Liberty Mutual stay with Liberty Mutual.
America, believes in liberty. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Should you ever drive from Paris to Dakar, we'd suggest a Mitsubishi Montero. Montero's won the Paris to Dakar rally 4 years straight, so it knows the shortcuts. But should you stay closer to home, you can still enjoy Montero's 2.6 liters, the independence of four-wheel drive, and the crafting of its civilized interior. Because you don't need a road rally to enjoy Montero, just an impulsive imagination. Mitsubishi.
Real food for real people.
When you refer to them as the dog days in Cincinnati, you are talking about Marge Schott, the owner, and her dogs, Shotzi, and the puppy, Ziggy. That's Shotzi. Cheer up, dog. Eric Davis will start it off, and he always cheers them up, followed by Dave Parker and then Buddy Bell. This may or may not be Fernando's last inning, but if it is, he'll have quite a challenge. We're trying not to overwhelm you with Eric Davis notes, but every time he comes up, I think we ought to drop in something. A check swing looper to Stubbs. So the something would be that he had 3 grand slams in the month of May. 1 away. And the batter will be Dave Parker.
I can't think of anything that upsets you more than what's just happened to Davis, where you try to duck a pitch and it hits your bat and you make an out.
Yeah.
That really gets to you. And you could see when he walked back how disgusted he was.
Dave Parker, the only left-hand hitter in the lineup, and left-handers don't bother him at all. He has popped to short and singled to right. 0-1 to count. Watch Eric Davis on that first pitch.
His hands get down and whoops.
Check swing and out. 0-1. Dave Parker is Mr. Consistency. Hitting .298 against left-handers, .299 against right-handers. Foul back, 1-2. What it tells you, among other things, too, I guess, is there isn't a trace of fear in his makeup. In other words, he doesn't bail out. He's not going to give. It doesn't make any difference to him, left or right.
Well, the only yardstick he could use would be power. But it doesn't look like he gives that much, if he gives it all.
And he hits a fly ball to Marshall. Of course, with Dave Parker, we're talking about a 6-time All-Star. But he's got all kinds of the credentials. 2 down in the 5th inning. He's 36. He slowed up a little bit, but he still gives you a full day's work. In fact, he plays every day. You can't get Parker out of the lineup. He has been in all 54 games.
And before the game, he has to really ice those knees down. They're not in the best shape.
No. 234 straight games the big guy's played. That's no big deal, but it just shows what he does. Buddy Bell taps to third. Easy inning for Fernando. He's retired 8 in a row, but it's still 5-1 Cincinnati at the end of 5. Now here's another edition of Baseball Remembered.
Old Spice presents Baseball Remembers, brought to you by new wide Old Spice Fast Track deodorant. Fast Track blocks odor better than the leading men's deodorant. That's all-out protection. Ron Swoboda remembers his amazing catch in the 1969 World Series.
I got an incredible jump on the ball. And it was all fluidy and all kind of quiet. And I was running, and I remember lunging backhand and felt that thing hit in my web. And that was a snagger. And if it stuck in that web, it was going to stay there. And as I rolled over, I kind of, looked in there. And there it was. And I can remember at the time saying, boy, you just made one hell of a catch here. And this is a World Series. I think it's fair to call that play that I made the greatest catch by an outfielder in a World Series, okay?
You're in Germany? I'm getting married at 5. Don't worry. I'll be there.
You go all out. Old Spice deodorant introduces all-out protection. Always coming through. When friends are counting on you, you go all out. You go Old Spice. New wide Old Spice Fast Track is clinically proven to block odor better than the leading men's deodorant. That's all-out protection. You go all out. You go Old Spice. All-out protection.
When Eric Davis was a rookie in 1985, he posed for this bubblegum card. Now, my man, you are an expert on baseball cards. If I had to go out and buy that, what would it cost me?
Well, before I tell you the price, it's a pretty good indicator as to just how good a fella's going. I don't care what the scouts say, the kids will tell you. They'll go out and buy it. This card, if you want to buy it in Cincinnati, is $18.
Wow, plus tax.
Plus tax, and you get a receipt with it. So that tells you on the big board of baseball cards, the stock exchange, Eric Davis' stock is moving up.
Boy, and how. Including tax then, it's a $19 purchase. That was from the rookie card, 1985. Well, Fernando is saying adios. Kenny Landreau will bat for him here in the 6th inning. 5-1 Reds. Strike. He tried to hold up, couldn't do it. Landreau against Ted Power. Power has retired 9 in a row. Kenny is 1 for 13 coming off the bench, make it 1 for 14. Steve Sachs coming up. He flied to right and grounded out 0 for 2. So that's 10 in a row retired by Ted Power. For the Dodgers, in all honesty, it must be very frustrating, and I guess really meaning more the organization than the players involved. But you come to Cincinnati, you see a lot of good young players, many of them from the Los Angeles area, like Tracy Jones, Eric Davis, Kurt Stillwell. Then you come in the series, you see a former Dodger, John Franco, come in and slam the lid down last night. Now today they're facing Ted Power, whom they had. And tomorrow they look at Jerry Royce. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1 and 2.
May necessitate a staff meeting.
Well, it's all part of the game, of course, but it's just tough to live by. 5-1 Reds, 1 out in the 6th. And Sachs blown away. Suddenly 11 in a row retired by Ted Power. He's only allowed 1 hit, the double by Jeff Hamilton.
And when he gets ahead of him, he's not working. I mean, what he's doing is going right after him. His heat is going to take its toll, and he's going to go as long as he can, as hard as he can.
Here's John Shelby. The Cincinnati starting pitchers have an earned run average of over 5. The Cincinnati bullpen has an earned run average of 2. And Pete just sits back and says, give me your best shot. I got a bunch of horses waiting to run. Pete last night used Frank Williams, Guy Hoffman, Rob Murphy, and John Franco. He didn't use Ron Robinson. 2-0. Shelby is jammed and pops it up to Larkin. And that's it in the 6th inning. And Ted Power certainly looks like he has plenty of power, as he has retired 12 in a row. And at the end of 5 1/2, Pete chews his gum on a 5-1 lead.
The Tandy 1000 EX, PC compatible for making the grade, staying on budget, working on time, playing overtime. Quality manufactured in America. Only $5.99, only at Radio Shack.
Here's big news coming at you from Chevrolet. 3.9% financing or $500 cash back on exciting new full-size Chevy pickups. Plus $1,000 cash back or 3.9 financing and $500 cash on new Chevy S10 pickups and Blazers. It's your time to buy. 3.9 financing or up to $1,000 cash back.
That's the day Chevy truck.
You know, I always wondered, why does Miller High Life come in a clear bottle? Boy, did I ever find out.
It shows the quality and the purity in our beer.
It's a natural process. No shortcuts. We don't cut corners.
One reason for the clear bottle was to show purity, but there was another one, too.
This is dark roasted barley malt.
I found out that roasted malt makes Miller darker.
You really can see the difference.
It makes a lot of sense. When you make a beer that looks dark and rich, you put it in a clear bottle so everyone can see it. Now, in my book, that's the American way.
2 out of 3 Indy drivers rely on STP oil treatment, because when it comes down to it, STP adds extra lubrication to reduce engine wear in whatever you drive.
STP is the racer's edge.
They're playing tennis again. Tennis on the red clay of Paris. And a French spring could turn to sizzle.
Immediately following baseball, those of you on the West Coast will see the women's final of the French Open, Navratilova and Graf. And then tomorrow on NBC Sports, we'll return to the red clay courts of Roland Garros. The finals of the men's singles in the French Open. Lendl and Wilander, don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Where are they playing?
I don't write this stuff.
Oh, you.
Roland Garros.
Okay. You said it like you played there on Fridays.
I was a ball boy. Here's Asaski against Ken Howell. Howell, roughed up for 4 runs last night, was the losing pitcher. He had only worked something like twice in 2 weeks. So they've decided to give him a workout today. The Dodgers have Bob Welsh tomorrow against Jerry Royce. Oral Hershiser Monday, and Tuesday night's game in Atlanta is open, up for grabs for a starter. Ground ball to Anderson. That takes care of Asaski, who is 1 for 2.
I tell you, the Dodger pitching is getting like in the old Pittsburgh club. The first guy that answers the phone was the guy who came in. Nobody would pick up the phone.
Well, Lasorda, by bringing Howell in today to pitch a while and sitting Pena down, you begin to wonder now if that's not interpreted to mean that Pena will pitch Tuesday, but that remains to be seen. Here's Diaz. Bo flied to left, popped to short, 0 for 2. To 1 in favor of the Reds. All the scoring in the 3rd inning. The Dodgers got a run on a double by Hamilton, and he scored as Sachs was grounding out. The Reds capitalized on a questionable Dodger defense and wound up with 5 runs. That going by the mound, and the ball going to Billy DeMars.
Now that bat went farther than the ball. Does that mean that the bat is lively?
Yep.
Okay.
Lively bat. 0 and 2.
Oh, just throws that bat at him, trying to stay alive, and look at it go. Someday somebody's going to do it. Field the bat and throw it across the infield. Just to see what happens.
0 and 2. Oh, where was that pitch?
He didn't see it. He was just completely fooled. He didn't see it, and he thought, well, maybe it'll be where my bat is when I swing.
Mackerel.
I mean, it was over his head.
I think Bo was just guessing, and the ball was in the neighborhood. So with 2 down, Davey Concepcion. You know what happened here the other day? They have, I guess they call it a tree. It's not a locust or a cricket, but it is somewhere in that family. It's called a cicada. And they are very large bugs. The background on the bug is extremely interesting. There's one right there. They're all over the place. And they are huge.
I'm telling you, they're huge.
Well, Vince Coleman came up with the bases loaded, 2 out, and a 3-2 count. The pitcher wound up and delivered. It hit Coleman in the eye. He backed off, and the pitch came right down the pipe for strike 3 to end the inning. The cicada, somewhere, I guess, related to the locust. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are retiring the Reds in order again. And at the end of 6, 5-1 Reds. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Martin Short is back.
Give me a break.
Steve Martin is back. Even Chevy Chase is back.
Well, isn't that special?
For a limited time, Fifth Third Bank will give away an Ameritech mobile car phone or an AT&T cordless phone from Cincinnati Bell when you open a certificate of deposit. The phone you get depends on how much you invest and how long you invest it for. So remember, at Fifth Third, opportunity doesn't knock, it rings. I think that phone's for you.
Watson's has made my day. Hey, it's going to be a great summer for my family and friends, and you can have a great summer, too. Just get out to Watson's during the Red Tag sale. This is the big one, with special discounts on above-ground pools. 24-foot Avalon, $449, or the 18-foot Avalon, $349, plus many more. How about relaxing in a warm, soothing, hot spring spa? They start at $24.99. And ask to see the famous Moto Massage. You're going to love that. It's Watson's Red Tag sale, and don't you dare miss it.
Joe, I can't help but notice your new sport coat. What's the occasion?
Just providing the color.
You bet. Let's check out these colorful values at Kroger.
Partridge sliced bacon is $1.99 for a 1-pound package. Northern bath tissue in the big 4-roll pack is 99 cents, and 10 to 12-ounce banquet frozen dinners are only 79 cents each.
Hey, Tony Perez, you wearing those sunglasses to hide from your fans?
No, Joe's cool.
Make the move with Santa Barbara, Friday on Channel 5.
4 times this year, Eric Davis has taken a home run away from a National League hitter. Twice he did it to Jack Clark. Watch this one. Got it. That's an 8-foot-high wall, and he's done it 4 times. To Jim Morrison, Darryl Strawberry, twice to Clark. Here's Guerrero opening up the 7th. And he strokes it to left. Tracy Jones has the ball. Eat him up. He was really fooled. And Guerrero into second base. The ball was just starting to hook. And Tracy was overmatched on that one.
It was a sinker. I don't think he saw it. Guerrero was having trouble with it, and it just did eat him up exactly. That was only the 64th pitch made by Power. You can see he just wasn't sure of it, and the sinker bounces in front of him, and he's just lost. That's all you can say.
That breaks up a string because Power had retired 12 in a row. He has made a sandwich with doubles. Hamilton doubled in the 3rd. Now he gives up the double to Guerrero. And here is Marshall. 2 ground balls, 0 for 2. 5-1 Reds. Dodgers trying to get off the floor in the 7th inning. Ground ball wide at 3rd to Bell. He holds Guerrero and throws out Marshall. Remember, we told you earlier, the Dodger record of coming from behind after the 6th inning is very poor. Let's see what somebody else is doing. A couple of scores. Toronto down 5-1, caught Baltimore. They're in the 10th inning, all tied up 5-5. The Mets beat Pittsburgh 4-2. Strawberry a big home run. Detroit and Boston 2-2 in the 6th. Wade Boggs hit a home run. Here's Stubbs, struck out and fouled out. Ball 1. See that decoy by Diaz. He was hoping Guerrero would fall for it.
Did you ever see that work?
Not that I can remember.
I saw it work once. I was watching it. I was not involved. I can name you the 2 guys that it did, and there'd be names out of the past. Clyde Klutz was the catcher. Remember him?
Sure.
And Vance Dinges, an outfielder with the Phillies. And brother, you talk about feeling sheepish when that throw's made to 3rd.
Diaz put on a pretty good play, but Guerrero holding. 1 ball, no strikes. Trying to golf that pitch. 1-1, and he almost drilled it into the Cincinnati dugout. The protective railing in front of the dugout saved a couple of players. Got a big kick out of it, but that thing was coming in a hurry.
I don't know why they don't do that in more ballparks. Put a protective railing up there.
We have a few more scores that we can put in. White Sox holding on to a 1-0 lead in the 5th inning in Anaheim. And the Cardinals came back, and they're leading the Cubs 4-3. Stubbs hits one to Eric Davis. Guerrero to the bag to tag. I doubt very much he's going to go anywhere. So 2 down, and the batter will be Alex Trevino. Perhaps just getting in some work. Pat Pasillo, right-hander, is throwing in the Cincinnati bullpen. He won his first game the other day.
Got a nice name.
You like that? Pasillo?
Almost sounds like cicada.
You know, they had the cicadas here so bad they had to stop a game. They've had bees here this year where they had to put smoke pots on the field. Pitches hit foul out of play. The thing about the cicada, this poor little bug, they mate. The larvae goes into the ground. The bugs die within 5 weeks or so. The larvae come out 17 years later. Whoa. So they were here when the stadium opened, and then they came this year.
Every 17 years, whether you want them or not?
That's it. They usually, understand it, go under trees or plants where the larvae is protected, and the larvae works its way somewhere around 20 inches under the ground, and then they come out every 17 years.
But this is artificial surface.
Yeah, not here. 1-2.
You're pretty good about that stuff.
I was told about them anyway. Somebody told me. They have recipes on how to cook them and eat them. They have teach. I swear to you. 2.
Don't invite me to your house now. I don't care if you got marinara sauce on it.
No swing, says John Kibler, and the count 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 out. So deuces wild in the 7th, 5-1 Reds. Two, the count to Alex Trevino. Jeff Hamilton on deck. Ted Power has allowed just 2 hits and 1 run. Very much in command up to here. Dodgers scored in the 3rd. The Reds came back with 5, and that's been it. Valenzuela went 5 innings, but Power is still out there trying to beat the Dodgers, his former club, for the 6th time. He's only lost once to them. Trevino rolled to short, flied to left, 0 for 2. Started after a bad ball, too, and he struck out. So Trevino chases 1. They leave Guerrero at second base. It's 5-1 Reds at the end of 6 1/2. And here's another edition of the 7th inning stretch.
Gatorade Thirst Quencher presents the 7th inning stretch. Gatorade is thirst aid for that deep down body thirst. This Cincinnati Red is a true triple threat with superior speed on the bases, plenty of power at the plate, and a big dose of defense in the outfield. Can you name him?
I'm thirsty for it, do you know what I mean? Sweating in the sun, need something cool and clean. Yeah, thirsty for it, 93 in the shade. I'm thirsty for it, now I need thirsty.
Nothing cuts through thirst like Gatorade Thirst Quencher. It speeds in fluids and minerals and supplies energy to working muscles.
I'm thirsty, thirsty, thirsty for that Gatorade. Gatorade is thirsty for that deep down body thirst.
Eric Davis has all the earmarks of a superstar. 1986 was his first full season in the majors, and he drew comparisons to Willie Mays. Davis stole 80 bases to rank second in the league, while blasting 27 homers, driving in 71 runs, and batting .277. What's more, Davis was dynamite on defense, arousing great expectations in Cincinnati.
Who was that masked stranger? Well, it's Ted Power being iced down after a tough 7 innings in the heat, and he's leading 5-1. Things were even tougher for Ted Power back in May when the bees collected here at Riverfront, and Ted Power was pitching and was actually stung by a bee, attacked by a couple of others too, and he is allergic to bee stings, so it was a dangerous thing for him.
This ballpark has got everything.
Oh,
bees,
yeah.
cicadas, good players.
And Ted Power will be coming up in the bottom of the 7th, 5-1 Reds. Power with excellent control. Despite walking 2, he's been ahead of a lot of hitters. With the bat, he started Fernando's downfall in the 3rd inning. Foul ball out of play. Hit one up the middle. Dave Anderson made a great sprawling stop, but apparently burned his hand on the AstroTurf. And when he tried to throw to first, Anderson threw it high over Stubbs' head, and that was the beginning of the end for Fernando. Oh, 0-2 the count. One ball and 2 strikes.
What's the highest they've clocked, Howell?
I think, if I can remember, Mike Brito, around maybe once or twice 96.
96.
Something like that. That'll do it for Ted Power. 1 down. Friends, this telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Tracy Jones grounded to 3rd, aboard on Sachs' throwing error, and struck out 0 for 3. Tracy hitting .333. Hits one into the right field corner, and chasing it is Marshall. Jones on his way for 2, and he will hold with a double. So Tracy Jones, a double into the right field corner. The kid from Hawthorne, California.
Right down the middle. And Marshall looked like he might cut it off, then decides to play it off the wall, which was a sure double. And Jones, running hard, had ideas about taking third.
He's a big guy. He's 6'3", 220, and he runs pretty well for a man that size.
They're high on him, too.
Here's Barry Larkin. Ball 1.
Say, they better jockey him back to second base, too. He had a pretty good jump, like he was ready to take off for third.
He has stolen as many as 26 in the minors. He had 3 different years where he stole over 20. He can motor. 1 ball and no strikes. 1 out in the 7th. 5-1 Reds. In the dirt. 2 balls and no strikes. Jones is an excellent defensive outfielder, despite the fact he had trouble with the ball hit by Pedro Guerrero. Since 1984, he's made only 1 error in the outfield. So he's quite a kid. There you go. But even in the minor leagues, we're talking now over 230 games. Made only 1 error. 2-0. And that's hit hard. Anderson will have a play at third. So Tracy Jones tries to come across, and he is shot down 6-5.
He showed a chink in his armor with that play. That ball was hit too hard, and Anderson he didn't know what he was going to do, and he saw it all the way. And Anderson was a little bit surprised. He tried to go to third. Actually, Hamilton has to wait for him to get there.
So Tracy Jones goes down, and that will bring up Eric Davis. All part of the learning process for a kid in the big leagues. Eric Davis, if you roll back the clock a little bit to last year, so that you would give him 1 full year right up to the present day. So his last 162 games, he's awesome. And it's based on that people feel he's really arrived. 4-1. Over that span, he's hit over 300. He has 44 home runs, 93 stolen bases, knocked in 118, and scored 135. I mean, that would be the most dazzling year anybody could have. 1-0. Fouled away. Eric played on a pretty good Connie Mack team, I guess. His teammates, Darryl Strawberry and Chris Brown, both in the big leagues. We saw him make a couple of dazzling catches. He's had 3 grand slams in a month, back-to-back months player of the month.
Larkin looks like he might want to run, even though it is a 5-1 score.
Right foot well on the rug. And there he goes. Pitches inside and high. The throw got him. And for Trevino, an excellent play to get rid of it in a hurry and punish Larkin. So the Reds fail to score in the 7th. And at the end of 7, 5-1 Cincinnati.
They called for it on the Marienplatz in Munich. They called for it in the Canadian Rockies. And they called for it in Newport Beach, California. Lowenbrow, brewed around the world. Taste it and you'll know why. Rich Bavarian hops and supervision, brewed fresh and smooth in America. It's the best way in the world to brew beer.
This world calls for Lowenbrow right now.
The new Mitsubishi Mighty Max, patiently crafted to be serious fun for the money. Only $64.99. Mighty Max gives you more standard features than Toyota, Nissan, or Mazda. And it's still priced lower than all 3. And right now, special factory incentives could save you hundreds. The Mitsubishi Mighty Max. When you're ready for some serious fun for the money, it's ready to kick up a little dust. Mitsubishi.
What's the world-famous Metropolitan Life representative up to now, Charlie Brown?
He wants to make sure people know that Metropolitan offers auto insurance, homeowners insurance, health insurance, and retirement planning, as well as life insurance.
What's he got in mind?
Good grief!
Spectacular!
Get Met. It pays.
I did it! I did it!
Did what?
I just invented the wheel!
May I make a suggestion?
Sure!
Try these.
What are they?
Monroe Gasmatic Shocks. They'll give you the best ride ever. Guaranteed. Monroe shocks and struts are the next best thing to the wheel.
Guaranteed?
In writing, pal.
Ooh. Hey! Yeah! Great ride!
Looks like we won't have to reinvent the wheel for another, million years.
Hey! No wonder America rides Monroe!
In the middle of the screen, the man with the cap on. Behind him is Sam Mealy, scouting for the Red Sox, and Grady Hatton is next to him, and Bobby Wine was there, the super scouts. I don't know where, there's Bobby. They're all here scouting, watching the game.
Jeff Hamilton now in shade as Ted Power still out there in the sun. 5-1 Reds in the 8th. Hamilton has doubled and popped up. Got to be a little tougher to see the ball now. 0-2.
Makes it tough as that lattice work, too.
Yeah.
That effect.
0-2. Little foul off to the left and out of play.
Of course, you know, Vin, when you're hitting, though, you could hit in the tunnel. There's what you're seeing behind home plate on the shadow and the lattice work.
Let me ask you something. I know it couldn't happen. Supposing you reversed it. Supposing the pitcher was pitching in shadow and you were standing in bright sunlight. Would it make a difference?
Depends on how far the sunlight came.
1-2. Well, Hamilton might take the witness stand about it.
If that shadow would work its way out the solid part a little bit farther, it wouldn't bother you at all. But again, I bet you Eric Davis could hit at midnight in a tunnel with a ballpoint pen and hit 280.
Yeah. There he is. There's 33,716 here at Riverfront. And a lot of them, I'm sure, came to see Eric Davis, who will be leading off in the bottom of the 8th inning. That's one of the reasons not a soul has left. They want to see him swing the bat again. Mickey Hatcher is up there now. Hatcher batting for Anderson. On deck, Ralph Bryant. They'll charge him a strike. 1-1. Mickey was checking to make sure it was called a strike, not on a swing. He's got good numbers, but not so much against right-hand pitching. The bulk of his work, successful work, has been done against left-hand pitching. 1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. He calls this batting stance his crab crouch. He's hitting over 400 against left-handers, about $170 against right-handers. 2-2. High pop foul, and Nick Osaski off first base. So 2 down in the 8th inning, and the batter now will be Ralph Bryant, a left-hand hitter, to bat for Ken Howell. There's Alejandro Pena in the Dodger bullpen. Ralph Bryant has been the only successful Dodger pinch hitter. The Dodger pinch hitters 0 for 2 today. They have 10 hits in 85 at-bats. But Bryant is 4 for 9, including a home run against the Mets. Fouled away. 0-1. We're in the 8th. The Reds 5 runs, 7 hits, no errors. Dodgers 1 run, 2 hits, and 1 error. He's turning in quite a job for Pete Rose and company. Rose has gone to his bullpen something like 117 times this year. And Pete is just laying back. It's a day in the country. The Reds only have 2 complete games, and they're both from Bill Gullickson, who was chased early last night. In 180 innings of relief work, Reds pitchers in relief have made 119 appearances, and they have 17 saves and 11 wins. The starting pitching did very badly in May, and the team was 1 game under 500 in May. But Rose has gotten a big lift, and tomorrow's pitcher, the ex-Dodger Jerry Royce, taking in all the proceedings.
Invented, or the dish for Pete Rose. He's something. He's just got to watch some kind of a sporting event.
2-2. Bryant fouls it away, so he's still up there. The Dodgers have gotten 1 man on base. That was Guerrero, who doubled since the 3rd inning. Last night, they had 1 base hit from the 4th inning on. And a cicada has popped up again in the Cincinnati dugout. Do you know the male and the female? You know the difference? The male makes the noise like the cricket. The male does, not the female. Drive to right, but Parker has the play.
You didn't learn that from reading the sporting news.
And at the end of 7 1/2, there's another cicada frightening Scott. Not breeding. And it is 5-1 Reds.
Looking out for number 1. Looking out for number 1.
Toyota, looking out for you with the Toyota 4x4 Turbo. The only gas turbo. The turbo tough enough to take you where you want to go.
Looking out for number 1.
Looking out for you has made Toyota number 1 in compact truck sales and number 1 in truck satisfaction. Who could ask for anything more?
Toyota.
Just because you've washed your car doesn't mean you're finished. You need some Armor All on the dash, the bumper, and especially the tires. Armor All. It's the finishing touch every time you wash your car.
Introducing the new 35mm automatic one-touch from Nikon. It puts great photography at everybody's fingertips.
These are the hands of Mr. Goodwrench. Hands that work. Hands with the know-how to fix things. Hands that are strong and sure. Hands that are gentle, accurate. Hands that can almost see where the trouble is and how to make it right again. Hands of skill. Hands that care. The working hands of Mr. Goodwrench. And no one knows your GM car better. No one.
I keep telling Don that basketball is the best sport for fans. We give them the fast break, the slam dunk, and the three-point shot.
Nah, baseball's the best sport for fans. We give them the squeeze play, the grand slam, even the ball if they catch it.
But we both agree on one thing. We care about our fans' lives.
So before the game, line up a designated driver so we all get home safe.
Hey, I know the best sport.
Oh, yeah? What?
Me, the designated driver.
Yeah.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Reds 5, Dodgers 1, bottom of the 8th, and both the Dodgers and the Cicadas are running out of time. Eric Davis, Dave Parker, and Buddy Bell.
I thought we've learned about some of the recipes A stir-fry cicada and a cicada mousse they had in the paper today, this week, right? Huh.
Alejandro Pena, the third Dodger pitcher. Valenzuela, Howell, and now Pena, and Eric Davis at the plate. Chopper to third. Big hop for Hamilton, or for Hatcher, I should say, who makes the play. Hamilton is now playing shortstop. One away. So Davis, last two swings on the first pitch, and he winds up 1 for 4. Dave Parker popped to short, single to right, and flied to right. He's 1 for 3. 5-1 Reds. We're in the 8th inning. All the scoring in the 3rd. No home runs. The Dodger run, Hamilton doubled and worked his way around to score as Sachs grounded out. And the Reds sent 9 men to the plate in the 3rd inning to get 5 runs. Fouled away. 1-1. The count to Dave Parker. You know, when you see Parker on television, or if you go to the ballpark and you see him, and there's a runner at first base late in the game, if you even have the thought of Parker bunting, sacrificing, banish the thought. You know the last time that Dave Parker sacrificed?
Grade school, 6th grade.
Well, almost. It was August of 1973, and it was only his 18th game in the big leagues, and they really didn't know what they had, so they told him to sacrifice. That's the only time. He's up there to hack. Boy, he's put together 6'5", 230, and he's got his 36th birthday coming up on the 9th. 2-2. Got him, and a change. Pena has a dandy. In seeing Pena throw that change, it reminds me, the Reds, minus one of their really solid pitchers, Mario Soto. They're still waiting for Soto to come back. He had the best change in the league, along with everything else. So the Reds are in first place with a starting staff that has been hurting without Soto, but with such a strong bullpen and the occasional burst of brilliance from a Gullickson or a Power, and they're rolling along. Buddy Bell has grounded out twice and walked 0 for 2. We've been talking, of course, about the brothers Necro and the brothers Perry. We might as well talk about father and sons, and the most home runs father and son combined in baseball history. Ground ball, base hit into center. Yogi and Dale Berra combined for 407 home runs. Gus and Buddy have 385. And, of course, it will be up to Buddy to hit 23 more home runs to make the bell heard. Nick Esoski walked, double, grounded out. 1 for 2, batting .308. Strikes, 2 out on the 8th. Bell at first, 5-1 Reds. To look ahead when the Dodgers come up, they'll have Steve Sachs, John Shelby, and Pedro Guerrero. He was late on that. No, was that good a fastball, or was the difference of the shadows and the light, but he threw it by him.
It looked like a pretty good fastball then.
You question it because Pena coming back from arm surgery, and it has been a painful return.
Tell you, he's not slingshotting the ball. He's throwing it.
Pena is 0-5. When he lost his last time out against Montreal, however, after the game, Buck Rogers, the manager of the Expos, said that he threw well. So it could be he's coming back, just taking a little more time than the Dodgers had hoped.
Well, Buck and the Expos have been doing well.
Wow. 2-2. Foul tip by Esoski. So Bell at first with 2 out in the 8th. 5-1 Reds. Bell with that bad leg, so Stubbs is convinced he's not going to go.
There was that change again. He just didn't get it over. Had he gotten it in the zone, I don't think Kosowski could have done anything with it.
Boy, it's really a great pitch. Pena's from the Dominican Republic. 2 years in a row, he won 12 games, led the league in earned run average. Ground ball to third. Hatcher has to go the long way. Gets him. So the Reds lead Bell. And at the end of 8, Cincinnati 5 and the Dodgers 1. And upcoming, Sachs, Shelby, and Guerrero.
There's a dumb mistake even I make sometimes. I tune up a car, but it doesn't run right. One spark plug wire wasn't pushed down tight. Autolite Power Seal wires click on so you know they're tight. Autolite Power Seals the wires with the right connections.
When his stomach balks, Davy Johnson reaches for serious medicine. Rolaids consumes all the acid required to bring millions 100% relief. And relief is needed on days like these.
I should have gone into golf.
Get serious relief. Get Rolaids.
When you're allergy sensitive, your next attack may be only a breath away. For relief, depend on Benadryl. Doctors have prescribed it more than any allergy medication ever. Benadryl from Park Davis.
Ace is the place you come to for quality and more, and prices that are known across the land. Ace is the place.
For Ace, best buys like a 100-foot outdoor extension cord for $6.99.
Ace is the place.
For 80 feet of reinforced hose and portable hose reel, each only $9.88. And a Gilmore Selecta spray for $3.99.
Ace is the place with the help of Hardware Man.
Wait till you see the changes we're making at Howard Johnson.
This is Howard Johnson?
This is Howard Johnson?
This is Howard Johnson?
This is Howard Johnson.
An American tradition continues. In 1948, he became the first National Leaguer ever to be named MVP 3 times. Stan Musial was the Cardinals' hitman. Today, slugger Jack Clark powers the Cardinals as they face the Cubs, or the Red Sox meet the Tigers. The tradition is here. The memories are waiting.
Well, the folks have made the trip from your town.
A long way. Phoenix, Arizona. Home of the Phoenix Firebirds. They're playing well in the Pacific Coast League.
Right. Well, next week, we'll see a couple of clubs playing exceptionally well. The Cubs going after the Cardinals in St. Louis. Others will see the Red Sox and the Tigers. We'll be looking at Andre Dawson and Jack Clark in a battle for first place.
2 dandy games.
Steve Sachs starting it off. Interesting thing for Ted Power working on Sachs. Ted has 1 complete game in his career. That was in 1983 after the Dodgers had traded him to Cincinnati. That's right. And here he is 3 outs away from the 2nd complete game of his career, and just to rub it in, against the Dodgers. 1 complete in 34 career starts. Fouled away off to the right. 1-2 to Sachs. Applied to right, grounded to second, struck out. Hamilton doubled in the 3rd. The only other Dodger hit, a double by Guerrero in the 7th. Power's just sailing along. 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. Ground ball to short. Harry Larkin to Nick Kosowski, 1 away in the 9th inning. For the Dodgers, when you look back to when they were leading 6-0 last night, they had to be saying to themselves, we win this, we get to within 5, then we have Fernando tomorrow to get to within 4, we beat Royce and we leave town trailing by maybe 3 or 2. Instead, they are now saying, we blew a 6-0 lead last night and we're on the edge of losing with Fernando, and they will be 7 games back of the Reds. The Giants are no doubt almost as distressed as Lasorda. They were hoping the Dodgers might win 1 or 2 here. That's hit to center, base hit, and it goes off the glove of Davis all the way through, so they can turn Shelby loose, and he has the speed to score. And he's going to come all the way without a play. So we'll see now how they score and just how tough they are on Eric Davis. That's Mike Scioscia applauding very carefully since he has a broken finger on the left hand. Official scorer, home run.
I don't think the fans approve of that.
No.
Surprised that he tried to come in that much to make that play with a 5-run lead. There goes the shutout. 5-2. It wasn't a shutout.
So Eric Davis lets one get away. It is charitably ruled a home run inside the park for John Shelby. Guerrero cups one foul off to the right out of play. 0-1.
That was charitable.
Yeah, it was. Should have charged him with a 3-base error. So John Shelby is given a home run inside the park. There he is.
He's huffing and puffing, but I don't, he's got to feel pretty good.
Shelby posting good numbers. 3 home runs, 2 left-handed, 1 right-handed. 1-1. In fact, John Shelby, I think he's from Louisville. I think he's not too far from here. Oh, I see. He was born in Lexington. That's it. Lexington, Kentucky. I knew it wasn't too far. 2-1 to count to Pedro Guerrero.
That last graphic really showed you how much control Powers had. 101 pitches, and here he is with 1 out in the 9th.
2-2. Young man off the campus at Kansas State. That's another foul out of play. Ted Power, as a starting pitcher, had an earned run average of 2.5, and he was 6-1. As a relief pitcher, he had an earned run average of almost 5, and he was under 500. But he's found a home starting the games. Guerrero, a fly ball to Parker in right field. And the Dodgers are down to their last out. And the batter will be Mike Marshall.
He's been jumping on the first pitch all day long. Let's see what he does this time, Marshall.
And it hasn't paid off for him. He's hit 3 ground balls. 2 to third and 1 to shortstop. So Mike 0 for 3. But Ted Power pitching a dandy. And he should get all the credit in the world. Ted is 32 out of Guthrie, Oklahoma. Went to school at Kansas State. And pitching a very commanding game. The Dodgers had a double by Hamilton, and a ground ball scored him. And then what should have been just a single was played into a home run by Eric Davis, and that's it. Oh, he's been magnificent. And that's hit down the right field line, and Parker is there to handle it, and that's that. So Ted Power beats his former ball club for the 6th time. He has only lost to them once, and he goes all the way for his 2nd career complete game. That's worthy of a fireworks display and handshakes all around. The first place Reds, 5 runs, 8 hits, and no errors. The Dodgers, 2 runs, 3 hits, and 1 error. If you stay with us, we will try to spend some time and visit with the big guy out of Guthrie, Oklahoma. Today's winning pitcher, Ted Power. So stay right with us. We'll have a chance to go right in the dugout with Ted. The Reds win it 5-2. We'll be right back.
I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about Miller Lite. What a profound concept. It's got a third less calories than I probably thought it didn't even have. And it's less filling than it would have been if it was more filling than they didn't want it to be. Plus, it tastes as great as you expect, even if it had more calories than it didn't have in the first place. Think about that.
In other words, there's only one light beer, because if there wasn't, he wouldn't be saying there is. Right, yo?
To make the perfect spark plug, last year a champion,
we rejected over 500,000 imperfect ones. Everybody makes mistakes. Ours never leave the factory.
Fixing this water damage will cost $1,200. Could I have prevented it?
You could with Thompson's Water Seal.
This water damage is going to run $750. What would have stopped it?
Prevent water damage with Thompson's Water Seal. Simply brush Thompson's on wood, brick, or concrete, and it penetrates to form a barrier water can't get past, even when driven by 98-mile-per-hour winds.
This time, I'm going to protect my new deck with Thompson's Water Seal. A great defense against repair expense.
Vinny Pazienza, a fireball in perpetual motion. His style resembles nothing short of controlled mayhem. Greg Haugen, the champ, a throwback to the Jack Dempsey days, is the quintessential tough guy. Pazienza battles Haugen, the IBF Lightweight Championship on NBC Sports World.
The totals on the ball game for the first place Reds: 5 runs, 8 hits, no errors. The Dodgers: 2 runs, 3 hits, 1 error. A home run inside the park, charitably given to John Shelby. The win, and there was no charity about it. Ted Power going all the way. He's 5-2, 6-1 lifetime against the Dodgers. And this week's NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game is the man from Guthrie, Ted Power. Miller Lite is happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Ted Power to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Congratulations to Ted and to the Reds. And we have Ted all wired up. Hey, big guy, you pitched a dandy.
Thank you. I tell you, I've been feeling real good lately. That breaking ball, I'm getting it over and keeping it down the strike zone. Early in the game, I got it up a couple of times, but I got away with it. I was lucky because those Dodger hitters are pretty good. But later on in the game, I get it down, and they swing a lot of bad balls.
Ted, is there a little extra incentive, or are you just a professional and it's another game and another team, or do you really get up a little more to beat the Dodgers?
Well, Vin, I tell you, for a couple of years after I left Los Angeles, I used to hold some revenge towards those people, but I don't anymore. I realize that doing something like that really is out of character for me, and I'd rather just go out there and play the same way I do every day.
Ted, you said, this is Joe. You said you had pretty good control of your curveball. Seemed like you had control of everything.
Well, I was spotting the fastball pretty good too, Joe. I think that's what you're talking about. I was trying to keep it down in the zone, and I did, and I had some good plays behind me in the field. But yeah, I did have good control. I think I walked maybe 1 or 2 today. It didn't strike out that many, but those walks are something that's always eating at me.
Well, now, a lot of times when the guy warms up, he feels that he has it or he doesn't have it. How did you feel warming up?
Well, in the bullpen, I didn't feel that strong, and it was so darn hot out here that I had to keep taking a break so I wouldn't get out of wind. I felt about the same as I usually do. I didn't feel extra strong, and I didn't feel too weak, but it was just one of those sort of neutral days for me, Joe. I wasn't up and I wasn't down.
Ted, you were basically a relief pitcher, 220 some odd games, and all of a sudden Cincinnati gives you the ball and you make 10 starts last year. Was it a painful transition, or were you eager to try?
Well, I tell you, it was something that I really relish, and I look back on those days when they put me back in the rotation, and I've never had a better time my whole career, because when I was over in Los Angeles, I enjoyed starting more than anything. Now, relief, it took me a couple of years of bouncing around to get to that short spot, and then I had a year and a half of good work there, but I never felt like I was a reliever. Never did.
Well, it took injuries to Mario Soto and John Denny to really give you the opportunity, and you've certainly made the most of it.
Well, that was something, you know, a lot of people have said that those teams weren't very strong at the time, that the races were over, but hey, you guys know that major league teams are major league teams.
Are you a different pitcher as a starter than a relief man?
I think so, Vin. I'm throwing more breaking stuff, whereas when I came in relief, I really went at the hitters with fastballs mainly, and once in a while a slider, but I'm even working on a changeup this year.
We have you pitching on the screen right now out of the bright sunshine,
yeah,
and you're working to a hitter in the shade. Do you feel that that's much of an advantage or disadvantage? In this particular instance, it's a pitch to Mickey Hatcher.
Yeah, I think it's a big advantage, because I pitched in some games like that in Chicago in those day games, and man, when that shadow crosses home plate, they're going to have trouble seeing it.
Hey, Ted, I don't mean to embarrass you in front of the world, but did you really say, in mentioning Chicago, Wrigley Field, I hope this so-and-so place burns to the ground?
No comment.
Hey, Ted, one last question from me.
Okay,
you
Joe.
used an expression, really relish. you can really relish this time on network television to tell us about that base hit.
The base hit today?
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, Dave Anderson, I thought he was going to rob me for a minute because I thought the ball was through, and then I didn't see it bouncing in the outfield. I turned on my afterburners, Joe. I run like you used to, and just barely made it to first base because of the bad throw and all.
Well, you know, you did retain your amateur standing, however. You didn't let it go to your head by striking out in the 4th and in the 7th, so the Pitchers Union will not toss you out of it.
I don't think so. See, they're pitching me like a hitter after I get those hits.
Well, congratulations on a great day, Ted, and a wonderful year. Stay healthy. Best wishes to your lovely wife, Karen, and along with daughter Lauren and son Chandler. I'm sure they're as happy as you are for a big day.
I'm glad they are. Thank you.
Okay, Ted. Thank you. Ted Power wrapping up a complete game victory. We'll be back with scores of other games, so don't go wandering off. We'll be right back.
2 out of 3 Indy drivers rely on STP oil treatment, because when it comes down to it, STP adds extra lubrication to reduce engine wear in whatever you drive.
STP is the racer's edge.
Brill Cream always gave him